All right, folks, welcome to the October 18th meeting of the San Juan Bautista City Council. Would you all rise and pledge allegiance to the flag with us?
Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bach?
Here.
Councilmember Lund?
Here.
Councilmember West?
Here.
Vice Mayor Martirana?
Here.
Mayor Edge?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is public comment on items that are not on the agenda. So any item that's on the agenda, you'll be able to address if we open it up for public hearing when that item comes up. So at this time now, any item that is not on the agenda, you can talk to us about if you'd like. Is there any public comment on items not on the agenda? Okay, we'll move on to consent items. Did anybody want to pull anything from this?
There was an issue with one of the minutes. Sorry, I'm flipping pages here. I think it was the September.
That's the last one, I think.
Sorry, where is it? Yeah, I'm sorry, 3H. I'm listed as leading the Pledge of Allegiance.
3H, consent items? September?
Yeah,
2 minutes.
I wasn't here.
Yeah, it says
It
here.
says absent Vice Mayor.
Right, it also says I did the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you.
Skype.
You read it? Let it pledge.
I led the pledge from, I don't know where I was at that point. Thanks.
Okay. So,
I'll move the consent agenda be approved.
Second.
can we approve that with just that minor change?
Okay.
Okay.
Councilmember West?
Yes.
Councilmember Bach?
Yes.
Councilmember Lund?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Martirana?
Aye.
Mayor Edge?
Yes.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Okay. Presentations, informational items, and reports. Proclamation honoring National Philanthropy Day, November 15th. Is that the one that you signed, Chris?
Yes,
So-
signed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want me to read it?
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Proclamation recognizing Philanthropy Day, November 15th, 2016. Whereas philanthropic organizations are responsible for enhancing the quality of life of people in voluntary associations that are formed to address societal needs, are an integral part of American society. And whereas in recognition of the role played by the uniquely American tradition of philanthropy, the United States Congress has designated November 15th as National Philanthropy Day. And whereas the history of American philanthropy is filled with the names of prominent citizens whose efforts have spawned universities, public libraries, homes for widows and orphans, and volunteer fire departments, just to name a few. And whereas in the year 2015, Americans contributed more than $373.25 billion to over 1 million nonprofit organizations registered with the Internal Revenue Service, and whereas today the nonprofit sector affects nearly every citizen in one way or another, they include religious organizations, museums and concerts our children attend, little leagues and 4-H clubs that enrich the youth, and social services agencies that provide food, clothing, housing, and training to help the indigent. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the City Council for the City of San Juan Bautista does hereby proclaim November 15th, 2016 as Philanthropy Day in San Juan Bautista and urge all residents to recognize the tradition of American philanthropy and as it continues to improve and enhance the lives of all by promoting the common good.
Very good. Thank you.
I'll make sure Beth Meander gets that.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, great. All right, next item, monthly financial statements and treasurer's report. Is Chuck here? No.
I don't
see
think
him.
so, yeah, right,
Is he
yeah.
expected?
I haven't heard from him.
No.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Just to give you a recap, the general fund shows a positive, as well as the enterprise compared to last year, positive about $77,000. This is primarily due to increased connections, you know. The budget to the actual general fund shows a positive, higher than budgeted by about $200,000. And we've been watching the expenditures, and it's a little bit less than, down by 86. So overall, the general fund has a net change policy of $172,000, and the enterprise has a $47,000 surplus versus the expenditures. So,
I had a quick question on that. On the budget versus actual, 140,000 of the variance is from, this was, revenues were higher. So 140,000 of the variance is from impact fees?
yes.
Aren't impact fees dedicated and they
They're in-
basically sit
they're in-
there until you
yeah,
use them for what they're dedicated for?
We acknowledge the revenue, but then we encumber them into those capital expenditure programs that we've set aside for future equipment, maintenance of buildings and stuff.
Okay, good.
I had one thing. Several months ago, I asked Chuck to give us a balance in each of the enterprise funds. And I haven't seen it lately, and people have asked.
I just got with Wendy this morning, and we went through it, and I got printouts, so I can distribute that, you know, to show you what we've achieved over the last 3.5 years.
That would be great. I'd like to see that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
On the warrant list,
Yeah.
we have 2 payments to KS State Bank. They're both for the exact same amount. Is that KS State Bank?
Kansas Bank.
Oh, Kansas Bank, that's
That's
for
our
the
credit card,
new
isn't it?
meters and the new meter boxes. That was the financing of the meters and the meter boxes through Kansas State Bank.
Got it.
So that's our monthly payment?
Yes.
Okay.
And the big Wells Fargo.
And the big Wells Fargo is the infrastructure refinancing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I assumed, but
Yeah.
That's it?
okay.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Okay. The sheriff's report, we don't have one. Fire chief's report, we don't have one. Library report. Any questions on that? Okay, administrative, oh, sorry.
Going back to the sheriff's report, I thought that was part of the deal, that they were going to give us a monthly report. It's been 6 months since we had one.
Is it monthly or quarterly?
Monthly.
They
it
thought
used to-
it was quarterly, and then we said we wanted monthly, so that we could at least, if something was going on, that we could get a grip on it a lot sooner and a lot faster.
I'd just like to get a handle on what's going on. If
No news
anything.
is good news, maybe? I don't think so.
Earlier this year, Captain LaMonica said that they absolutely would be attending. He came to that one meeting. They've said in the past that we'll be there unless something comes up, implying that they would not be here if there was an incident occurring at the time. But I'm not sure why that would preclude some sort of written report, either before or after the actual meeting, to at least some feedback. And we've just gotten nothing, and I'd say it's unacceptable.
Yeah.
I think it's time to push back again. I know you've done it before, Roger, but I'd like to see you push them. And frankly, I don't feel the need to have them here every month, a body here every month. But I'd certainly like to see some information, some feedback. They've never followed up their request for funding on the equipment for the vehicles. They said they would provide details so that we could evaluate it, make some judgment call, and we've gotten nothing.
So true. Yeah, I don't feel that they need to show up, but we should at least get a written report. We usually get a fire chief's report, and that's
Yeah,
not
we
here
get that.
this month.
Well, we get it enough time in advance that if there is an incident on there, we
Yeah.
can at least call them to it.
Yeah. Okay, administrative report. Roger?
Again, Public Works is busy with the new meters, and we've had the training sessions, the initial ones, and so everything is kind of going smooth. The effort on Joe's part is to get the meters in the ground, 680 of them, and so, and then then first of the month, then he can start performing the new meter readings. And based on our analysis there, that everything could be done in about an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes with the new readers.
No, they can read from a vehicle, right? Just carry
Yes.
the
Mhm.
equipment and just
Yeah.
drive through slowly and
Yeah.
read everything.
Yeah, as well as it gives some real-time data that you can sit in front of that house and see the amount of water it's using on a per minute basis. So
Yeah.
it's going to be very helpful in determining. We call it unannounced leaks, where the customer comes and says, "Hey, my water bill has doubled," and I says, "Well, you got a leak under your house," but they don't know it. And so, with this new real time, we can almost predict that something's wrong, and then do a door hanger and then advise them that says you better get a plumber in there, because we're only responsible to the meter, and everything beyond the meter is the property owner's responsibility.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay.
And planning-wise, I think we've pretty much exhausted a lot of our staff time in preparatory for tonight's public hearing. And that's been one of the major emphases, is to get everything ready and work with Deborah and the attorney and the applicant. So, and in our department, you're aware, and later on the agenda we'll go over the compliance order that we received from the State Water Rights Board, and so we'll go through that and show you how that is going to be matriculated through the process. I did have the opportunity to talk with one of the consulting engineers in the water, and they're on board, and they're going to give us a proposal.
Okay. Any questions?
Oh.
Okay, City Council Committee reports. Chris, do you have? You
I don't have anything.
Yeah, Tony?
There was a COG meeting, but nothing that, well, we're still working on that sales tax initiative, and that's going to be a monthly thing, getting stakeholders together, trying for that sales tax again in 2018. So that's for the roads.
Okay. I have nothing for the public.
At intergovernment, nothing pertaining to San Juan, and we actually talked about touching on to that, and we're going to actually revise and find out, how, when we started this, how we were going to be able to share resources, and it kind of got off scale of what happened. So we're going to kind of restructure it, try to get it back on to where we're going to be, an intergovernment where we can share resources and share collaboration and ideas together. So hopefully next month we'll have that in order. Also had a fire meeting. City of Hollister, as everybody has probably heard by now, that they did lose the Safer grant and had to let go of 12. Keeping 3 on. The City Council has approved an increase in their budget to keep these people on. It will not affect San Juan Bautista with the fire department. We'll still have 2O staffing. So this should encourage them to really work on their reserve program and to get that back in effect. They kept saying that they were waiting for 15 people and equipment and people to train them. So we kind of advised to them that, look, if you can't do 15, let's take 5 now and start getting this program going through. We got a really good report on equipment. All the equipment is pretty much in service and up to date, which is a good thing because right now it's cost effective with the budget and them keeping the firefighters on. There's probably going to be some major changes in the next contract, what direction we're going to go and what direction the other two entities want to go. We've been trying to work on a fire district. We don't really know who's all on board right now. We passed a resolution that we wanted to go to talks, and the county actually passed one too, that they want to just talk about it. The city of Hollister didn't, and I think a lot's going to balance on Measure W for them. So we're just going to have to wait and find out for the rest of that. But just keep our chin up and keep it going, and that was pretty much all we have for right now for fire.
Jim, anything?
Same meeting as Robert.
Okay. You guys should trade places so you get a chance to talk once.
I don't want to do that.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. The next item is a public hearing. Consider approval and adoption of the revised mitigated negative declaration for the fuel station.
We got, how about Neighborhood Watch?
Oh,
4H.
I did it again. I'm sorry, Eric.
I understand. We did not have a meeting this month. I do apologize. With my impending move, it's been a little busy. But to reiterate on the sheriff's report, we've had very little assistance from them when we asked them for stuff as well, just to let you guys know. I'm still getting emails through the Neighborhood Watch emails about small things coming in and out, probably no more than normal. In my impending move, John Freeman's going to help keep the Neighborhood Watch up and around. We had one other person who thought they could help. They've got some conflicts of sorts, so they're unable to help at this time. But I'll get together with John and make sure he's got all of the information on the email addresses, the website, and any other information that he may need to assist with that. And he'll probably need assistance. Maybe Chris can put in a moment or two to give him a hand, because sure. It's not a whole lot, but it can get a little overwhelming. So that's all I have in the Neighborhood Watch.
Great. Thanks, Eric.
Mayor, I have some public comment to distribute for this public hearing.
Oh, okay.
Get that out before we get started.
When did these come in?
About 5 minutes ago.
Oh, okay. Okay. Item number 5, public hearing. Consider approval and adoption of the revised mitigated negative declaration for the fuel station, convenience store, and quick serve restaurant at 404-408 the Alameda. Number 1, consider approving resolution 2016-XX for the approval and adoption of the revised mitigated negative declaration for the service station, convenience store, and quick serve restaurant at 404-408 the Alameda. Now, basically what this means is that we are going over the mitigated negative declaration. We are not opening wide the whole project. This was litigated in court. Both sides appeared. The attorneys worked on this, and the judge's opinion as a result of that hearing was that we had to redo the noise element of the mitigated negative declaration. So that is what we are considering. Everything else has been discussed here, voted on here and at the Planning Commission, and decided. And so now we just have to finish off the mitigated negative declaration, which has already been through the court system. So I apologize if any of you think that we're starting from scratch, but we aren't. We just have this one thing to consider. So, Roger, do you have any? remarks?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to hear from the attorney if she would agree with that statement.
So you actually need to open this up to hear a public hearing here today. As you know, you passed resolutions last year to pull approval of this project. And so it actually is open. That's why you have a complete staff report before you today.
Okay.
You know, of course, you're focusing in on noise because you had previously approved all other aspects of this project. And we sought to keep the staff report and the record on this almost exactly the same, except to change the issues related to the new noise study that was prepared and the changes to the mitigated negative declaration. But in truth, you do need to open this up to hear all public comment today and keep your mind open to what the public has to say.
Right.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood then. Thank you. Okay. So, I don't know if we need any introductory remarks on this, do we? Or-
No, I think everybody's familiar with it, and in the staff report that you've done, you've evaluated the initial study and mitigated negative declaration that we supplied you last week. We've gone through that, and as Deborah said, is that when we set aside the previous approval and the mitigation negative declaration, in that is the judge ruled that we had to study the new noise elements and new impacts of that, and that's where we highlighted pretty much everything else is the same in terms of the traffic projections and stuff like that as we go forward. Deborah's here, and then the attorney for Mr. Dadwell's in the audience, and he can make his presentation as we go forward.
Okay, so should I have the proponents and opponents speak first and then open it up for public comment?
So
Or
there's
should
no
we just-
opponents here, so it just would be the applicant. You would give time to the applicant
The
first
applicant.
and then open it up for the rest of the
Comments.
public to speak.
Okay.
Comments. Yeah.
So then, Mr. Lombardo, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, would you like to discuss your points then?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Anthony Lombardo on behalf of Mr. Dodwell, who's sitting next to me there this evening. It's been 2 years since you approved this project previously. Immediately after it was approved, suit was filed against the city by a group calling itself Accord, which is really representative of the adjacent commercial property owner who opposed the development of the project. The suit contained 12 causes of action and 283 paragraphs alleging that the city council basically did everything wrong you could possibly do wrong in approving a project. Trial did not occur until February of this year. Ms. Small and I represented the property owner in the city. Ms. Small did an excellent job explaining to the court the decision of the city council. The court ruled from the bench in the favor of the council, as Mayor Edge said, as it related to every one of those 283 paragraphs with the exception of one. And because the noise report that was prepared for the project was based on the first iteration of the project, and the council may recall the project as it was initially proposed included a drive-through restaurant and a much larger fueling operation. As a result of the discussions and direction given through the Planning Commission, the project was scaled back significantly, and so the court simply said that the city did everything right. However, it was unable to connect the conclusions contained in the mitigations for noise as they related to the noise report, because the noise report was done on the larger project. So the court ruled in the city's favor, with the exception of directing the city to go back and prepare a noise analysis based on the project that was actually approved to determine if the noise was a problem or not. So fortunately, the city had also just completed your general plan update. And in the general plan update that you adopted last February, or February of this year, February of this 16th of 2016, you had included a cumulative impact noise analysis for the development of your new general plan, which analyzed the noise contours in this area. The city also then commissioned a project-specific noise analysis of the actual smaller project that was approved by the city council. Both your general plan on a cumulative basis and the noise report prepared by the city for this project reached the same conclusion that your prior report had reached, that the noise impacts were not significant either on an individual or a cumulative basis from this project in its smaller iteration, and that it recommended several mitigations which your staff has incorporated into your new conditions of approval, conditions number 36 through 40, which, paraphrasing, describe how the project is to be built in a way that doesn't create a significant, and operated in a way that doesn't create a significant noise impact. So you are reconsidering your action tonight as to whether to approve or disapprove the project. The only new information from that which you had before and which the court concluded you did all correctly is this additional noise information coming from your general plan update and from the specific noise study that was done for the project. The conclusion is the same that you reached last time, that there is no significant noise impact. There were 3 comment letters received when the initial study and negative declaration were recirculated by the city. Those were one from Caltrans, and the council may recall they want that deceleration lane built up front. Last year, the council adopted an agreement with the applicant to ensure that that does happen. So that agreement has been reached, executed by both parties, and so the deceleration turn lane will be constructed prior to the opening of the operation of the project. The other comment letter that was received was comment from the State Water Resources Control Board on the city's water supply project, or water supplies. The city response is quite thorough, describing the available water supply, that there's water available for this project, and the steps that you are taking that I'm sure you know far better than I do to upgrade the city's water supply project. But there's no doubt that there's adequate water supply for this small project. And finally, you received a comment letter from the opponent organization, the plaintiffs that sued you, criticizing the staff report and the conclusions contained in the noise report. This letter really doesn't amount to more than a disagreement with the conclusions, an attempt to re-argue issues that they lost in the court already, like, for example, they're complaining about how the project was described. They made that same complaint to the court, and the court rejected it. So, and then they hired their own noise consultant, who actually didn't criticize or didn't present any evidence to refute the conclusions contained in the city's noise report. It asked questions about how certain conclusions were reached, which were responded to by the city's noise consultant. So unless you have any other specific questions about the project, it's the same one that you approved previously. There are a few new noise mitigations consistent with the general plan mitigations that the city adopted and the noise project-specific noise report that the city prepared. Other than that, we would respectfully request that you reapprove the project tonight with those additional conditions of approval. Then what we do is we return back to the court and present the court with the final action of the city, and then the court will decide whether the city has carried out its direction to analyze the noise from the specific project, which obviously you will have done. And then I'm hoping and expecting that the court would find that the city has done what it needs to do and take the final issue up and rule in favor of the city. And then Mr. Dodwell can finally, after 3.5 years, move forward with the completion of this project. So everything you've adopted about why it was appropriate under your ordinances, why it was a needed use, all of that was resolved in the city's favor. So other than that, I'd just like a few minutes to respond to any public comment. Thank you.
Thank you. I assume we have comment cards, so we'll go ahead and start with those.
Ray Sanchez.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. As you know, my name is Ray Sanchez, and I lead the group known as ACCORD, the Alliance of Concerned Citizens on Responsible Development, which includes not only the residents of the quiet neighborhood where the above project is being proposed, but now also includes numerous businesses and residents throughout the city of San Juan Bautista who are gravely concerned with your consideration of this project. I work in San Juan Bautista, and I actually live across the street at 417 de Alameda. The focus of my comments this evening will be on noise, but I have other things to say. There is no way that this project will not have significant noise impact on the residential owners along the Alameda, on the Hacienda, and the San Juan School, directly across the school from this project. These are the facts. The city's own consultant says the project will generate more than 1,300 trips per day, 7 days a week. There will be 46 parking spaces, and they will open at 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. There will be daily repeated deliveries of fuel and food and merchandise to the restaurant and convenience store. It is observed for the city manager or his consultant to conclude that the noise levels in the area will not increase dramatically if this project is built. Judge Sanders has already found that the city's prior noise analysis was flawed, and that is why we are here tonight. The second noise study is no better. In fact, it is full of discrepancies and ignores reality. Just a few examples of this include page 54 of the revised mitigated negative declaration states the noise levels of project equipment cannot yet be calculated since the equipment locations and model selection have not been determined. If the noise levels cannot yet be calculated, then I don't understand how this council can approve this project. There are two noise studies that have been prepared. Back in 2014, the noise consultant concluded the anticipated increases in noise levels would be very noticeable and potentially disturbing. I agree with that. Anyone with common sense would agree that the city needs to prepare an adequate EIR. As we as citizens deserve that if you are proposing our lives to be dramatically altered. This is not the right project for our quaint city of San Juan Bautista, and I ask the city council to deny the application. Gentlemen, this is trying to put a square peg in a round hole. We have had, according to my report, we have had 47, actually closer to 50 accidents on this location from 1910 from 2010 to 2015. We have had 2 fatalities. Less than 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, we had a gentleman killed here. It's important that everybody knows this information. And if anyone wishes to, there is a copy of the newspaper clipping sitting in the back of my desk, on the back here. So I ask that you strongly look at this situation. It doesn't work for us. Now, our downtown has turned into a racetrack. Mr. Lund, with all due respect, your wife was in an accident. I was there when it happened. There was 5 cars involved, and this stuff is going to continue. It's getting uglier and uglier. As you go out there, I challenge all of you to come and spend some time on my porch on a Friday or something and see how many cars are coming through there, taking a right at the light and going around the Hacienda and speeding to the other end, trying to beat them a half a mile down the road. It's gotten bad. It's going to get worse. I ask the police, I urge you to look at this a little more seriously and consider the folks that are living in that residence. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Ray.
John Hopper?
I have a question, or I have a suggestion. His number one on his thing here, talking about page 54 of the revised mitigated negative declaration. This is a point that is not well understood, I don't think, and I think it would be useful to have this explained because this cannot yet be calculated. I have what I believe I understand how this works, but I think it would be very helpful for the audience to understand why it's set this way and how the mitigation then works in a situation like this. Can somebody talk about that?
I can start with an explanation, and then Mr. Lombardo can join in.
Okay.
This is discussed in the staff report. I believe it's on page, oops, we don't have numbered pages, but there is a discussion of the SS&L letter in the staff report where they raise the same issue. And in Mr. Lombardo's letter to the City Council, he also discusses this issue, the issue of whether the equipment or the issue that the equipment is not chosen yet for the construction on the project, so the noise impacts cannot be evaluated properly. So CEQA doesn't require us at this point to determine, for example, if a Ford or a Chevy pickup truck is going to be used on the site. That's really almost impossible to do. What it does require is that there be a consultant on the site to monitor noise levels, so the accumulation of the noise from the equipment that is chosen to be used does not exceed the levels that are set forth in the mitigation measures.
Now, that refers to the construction period, I think.
Yes, it's for the construction period, not for the period during which the facility operates.
Okay, and what about the period when the facility operates?
So the point of the noise study was to look at whether that project was going to bring additional impacts to the area. And the traffic on that road so far exceeds the noise that's allowed, that they found that the project itself wasn't going to contribute more to the noise in the area than what is already there.
Okay. Does that?
Yes, council member.
Yeah,
Myrana.
Chris.
You're not related to Mike Myrana, are you? From?
I am.
Oh,
My father.
really? Small world.
Millbrae?
No, Salinas.
No,
Oh.
never heard of him.
6 degrees of,
Big world.
degrees of separation.
It's a fairly common name in Sicily, but not
That's where
here.
they were from. Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
The cannolis are good. The paragraph that Mr. Sanchez was reading from has to do with mechanical noise created by heating and ventilation equipment principally. And so there's a condition of approval or a mitigation that limits the amount of noise that equipment can produce. The paragraph says that they can't say what the equipment will produce because it hasn't been built yet, it hasn't been specified. But as Ms. Small pointed out, there's a limit, and when the mechanical equipment is designed and installed, it has to meet that limit. So, as Ms. Small said, when it's designed, it has to meet a limit, and when it's constructed, it will have to prove that it meets that limit. So
Right.
someone will be there to monitor it. So
Got
it
it.
doesn't mean they can't tell what the noise would be, because the paragraph that Mr. Sanchez didn't reference above describes specifically what the noise level will be
Okay.
based on the use of the proper equipment.
Thank you.
John Hopper?
Before I approach, could you tell us what SSL letter is? You refer to SSL letter? I'm sorry.
It is an attachment to the staff report, and I believe it's found at A25, A-2-5. There's a letter that the city received from the SSNL law firm at the time that the mitigated negative deck was circulated.
Which references?
There's 5 issues that are brought up there.
Well, you brought it up, so.
Okay, Mr. Lombardo discussed them when he was reporting. I think he went over all the issues that were presented by SSNL. Project description, issues with the noise study, and
Specifically.
right, and whether the circulation was proper. And all of those issues were answered both in the staff report and in the Lombardo letter.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Small, members of the City Council. So I'm just going to talk about the bullets. I'm going to run through the list of bullets I'm going to talk about because, as Ms. Small pointed out, this really isn't only about the noise. It's about getting all this on the public record. So the issues that I will address tonight, which would be subject review in the future, would be traffic, public safety, noise, EIR, fish and game, lighting, hours of operation, spirit and cooperation change of the city ordinance to quick serve and big box businesses, and impact fees. So thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I think that I'll start with item number 3 on my list, which is noise. I think that, as was described, supposedly this hearing is only about the noise. And I think what's amazing is that the city is prepared to, you as members of our elected body are prepared to vote on a noise issue. And the noise issue is not something that's been adequately studied. Somebody could go to an AM, PM mini mart or someplace else and just, study the noise. There are reasonable experts out there that could tell us what the potential impact was. On Facebook the other day, I posted that I was sitting in my office upstairs and I heard a bulldozer that was grazing property, I think illegally, on an unapproved project because I was sitting there. And I'm very close to this intersection. So I think noise has not been studied here. And if this council is prepared to vote on this sole issue of noise, you're misinformed. You do not have the proper information. And you're exposing the city to a huge liability because you just don't have the proper information. The issue of traffic, I may or may not have heard is addressed. Caltrans clearly advised your city manager some time ago when this, played down group of Accord, which is a large number of your community, sued the city relative to traffic safety. And basically said that they were not going to adhere to that they were just going to allow the project to move forward. I do not believe there's been an EIR done on this project or any other project. I think the council and the planning commission have been convinced that it's okay just to have a negative declaration and ignore wildlife, ignore other concerns. In fact, in this particular project, a permit was issued to cut trees down, which involved a confrontation between your city manager and a fish and game officer when they cut down a tree and fell a tree that hawks were nesting in. My time is expired, but I just want to say this to you. With all due respect, as a former mayor of this town myself and a planning commissioner, you need to do the right thing. I know there's legal issues here. The gentleman spoke about 3.5 years, what have you. We're talking about years of history here and years of trying to preserve our community and do the right things. I actually am in favor of growth. I might be in favor of this project as long as you don't violate the basic tenets and concerns of our community. And that's what has happened here. I challenge you tonight to just search your souls and hearts and just say, does this really need a second review? Is it more than what we think it is? Because in my heart, serving 8 years on this council, twice as your mayor, and 6 years on the planning commission, I believe you go that to this community. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Dan DeFries?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, staff. What can we say about the ARCO project? Rick, if I can call you Rick instead of Mr. Mayor. You and I
prefer that.
Yeah, me too. You and I considered almost an identical project 20 years ago in the 90s. Only in those days it was Chevron. Do you remember that? It was Chevron, AM/PM, or that was an AM/PM main market. It was Extra Mile, some form of fast food. The same exact project. And you and I, when we were on this planning commission, we said no to that because that intersection doesn't work. And the reason why that intersection didn't work then is why it doesn't work now. It's because you have to get ingress and egress off of the Alameda. And that's a big problem. That's a huge problem. And you guys have to be cognizant of that. Secondly, I don't want to repeat what other speakers have said about noise and light and everything. I will say this, that if the 12-pump AM/PM ARCO is installed on that corner under each of your watches, you guys are going to have that attached to your name forever. You guys are going to be the ones who are known to do that. And you have to think about that. You have to think about that really hard because that will change the character of this town, and you know it will. You know it will. Lastly, I was at a cannabis forum recently where both incumbents, Mayor Edge and Councilmember Lund, said that they're on the same page with me, that there shall be no franchise businesses in this town. Do you remember both saying that? It was quoted on Benito Link. I wrote it down, but I didn't bring it. Both of you said no franchise businesses in this town. If you are inclined to approve this project tonight, in spite of the vast majority of public opposition to the contrary, but if you say like, okay, well, we think there can be a gas station there, are you willing to put your vote where your mouth was back then, a couple of weeks ago, and say we condition approval on no franchise businesses going into that place? No McDonald's, no El Pollo Loco, no Subway, Robert, no 31 Flavors, no Starbucks. Are you willing to say that tonight? Are you willing to vote that way tonight? You can condition approval based upon that. Are you willing to do it? You said that at the candidates forum that you were willing to do that. And so did you, Mayor Edge. I don't know how council members West, Bach, and Mayorana feel about that, but are you serious about protecting our local businesses or not? Because if you approve this project, and if there is a McDonald's and a Starbucks, you know what it's going to do to JJ's and Vertigo and Donya's. You know what it's going to do. And how could you look those people in the face, straight in the face, after tonight when you vote the way you do? We're going to find out right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Nicholas Morietta?
Italian. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. So I'm not from here. I'm not even from California. I'm a transplant. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. A very small town, actually, from there. Boone, Illinois. Not sure if you guys have ever been around there at all, but it's changed since Boone?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're familiar with that area.
Grew up in Chicago.
Very close. But home's not home anymore. Boone is not Boone anymore. Here's the reason why. There's a highway that drives right through the town. And there was a small gas station comparable to our Valero. It worked for us. There was no McDonald's. There was no AM, PM. But they decided to approve a Flying J right off the highway. My mom lived right next door to that Flying J. And she had to move. She couldn't stand it anymore. All the J breaks, the traffic, it's unbearable. I relate that to myself. I'm off of Lang Street, 12 Lang Street, right? I hear the J break 2 o'clock in the morning, and if you guys live near there, you guys know the same thing. Why is this guy using his J break whenever, what happens? He doesn't see the red light, right? So he's got to slam on the brake, or he's got it enabled, or someone. If you guys put a gas station and a fast food or some restaurant facility, major establishment, if you will, on that corner, it's going to increase traffic. If I was coming from Hollister, of course I would go through San Juan Bautista and get a cheap bite to eat, But it's going to increase traffic, whether the noise is a concern or not. I believe it is, because I've seen it happen. We don't even cross the street to go to the park because we're so fearful that my wife or my young child, 7 months old, is going to get hit. We get in our truck, we got to get the baby in the seat. You guys know how time-consuming that is. We literally have to drive across the street and go to the park because we're too fearful already. So any additional traffic, there's no way. I see people crossing that street all the time as it is, and I'm like, that's insane. Any additional traffic there is going to be insane. That's my 2 cents. I appreciate you guys letting me talk. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jolene Cosio?
Jolene Cosio, 181 Lang Street. Gosh, I wish we would have had this many people here fighting Caltrans about their improvements to the highway, which we really can't do anything about other than for the children. I would love to see either a tunnel under the highway or a bridge over the highway like they have at Placerville. There's a really nicely constructed brick bridge going across the highway for pedestrians. If we can do something like that, it'll help a lot with the pedestrian issue. I don't think you can compare a Flying J truck stop to a gas station and possible fast food and a little store. I mean, we already have that with Valero, not the restaurant, but that is a commercial area. Now, if I lived there, I might be, you know, a little upset about it, but I'd understand that I moved into a commercial area, and I should expect things like that to happen. Someday, the beautiful lot on the side of our house, across the street and to the side of it, will probably get some homes. And I'll probably be upset about the construction. But if it's zoned that way, and that's what we need in the city, you know, I'm not going to create a lawsuit over something that the Planning Commission worked very hard to approve and make everything right. And I must say the applicant has gone out of his way as far as contributing money that you know, is not really required, but kind of helped to move the project along to get that turn lane installed. Just like a lot of us worked longer to get the street light a little bit longer for the pedestrians. Caltrans told us we couldn't do it, and we finally got 15 seconds out of them. It's not much, but it's something. And you just have to do everything that you can to mitigate the issues. And especially knowing that the other person who's involved in this and really fought to not have that gas station put in is another commercial property. That's also creating noise and traffic. So I just don't think it's fair to pin everything on this gas station. As some of you know who understand the history of the city, we had almost nothing but bars and gas stations here at one time. The 101 ran right through the city. You know, granted there wasn't the traffic there is now. And there are issues. I'm not trying to say there aren't issues. But I believe that the Planning Commission and after that the Council did a good job of figuring out all of the proper mitigations to make this work. And I think it'll be good for the city. We need the tax base. And again, it's zoned commercial. You're going to have a commercial property there. If not this, something else. And you may not get an applicant who is as willing to cooperate with the city as this applicant has.
Thank you, Joanne.
Max Torrey?
Hello, Honorable Mayor and City Council. Firstly, I'd like to say that I'm a vested member of this community neighborhood, having purchased a home here in the historic San Juan Bautista on 15 Lang Street. Having said that, I have to say after reading and doing some research on said project, development located at 404-408 the Alameda, that I vehemently oppose this horrible and poorly conceived project. I live within 100 feet of this proposed project, as do a host of hardworking families, their children, and a newborn that make up this community. Moreover, this development presents a serious danger to our neighborhood and town. There are a number of serious threats should this development be approved, such as serious health hazards via harmful exposure to benzene, life-threatening traffic congestion issues, intolerable noise pollution, increased trash accumulation, increased possible neighborhood crime, depreciation of home values, and numerous other quality of life issues that cannot be reversed should this project gain approval from the Town Council. In short, this project, if approved, will put our diverse and hardworking families and their children directly in harm's way. Needless to say, many of these negative externalities will also open up the town of San Juan Bautista to costly legal litigation as well. Incidentally, yesterday marked the horrible anniversary of the 1989 Loma Prieta 6.9 earthquake that resulted in a devastating fire and over $6 billion in damages to both the San Francisco Bay Area and the Central Coast area. So just imagine the damage and fire should a horrific explosion occur and result to this proposed gas station, and worse to our families. Thus, I plead with the council and the mayor to reconsider and reject this proposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have no other speaker cards, but I do have some written comments if you're interested. I don't have a microphone, but I can read them.
Shall we? Or you could go to the podium.
That's
Yeah, why don't you?
Sure. I'll go over.
3 minutes.
Yeah, you took more than that.
I know.
So, this is from Todd Dubois. Dear Council and City Manager, I am unable to attend the hearing on the gas station project this evening, but wanted to share my strong support for your previous approvals and continued approval of this needed project. We need to let the greater community know that San Juan Bautista is open for business in order to gain increased investment. Predictability is critical for investment confidence. Changing courses for our local minority is not good policy or practice. I hope you see this through to construction. Warm regards, and you can count on my continued support of this council and city manager. And then from Jackie Morris Lopez. I encourage the current city council members to vote in opposition of this project. It would create more traffic hazards in the 156 at this very dangerous intersection. I don't have to be the first to remind you of the tragic pedestrian fatality of last month at this crossing. The temptation for folks, children, to cross here to purchase snacks or whatever big box products causes great concern. Also, in conflict of promoting local small merchants and preserving a walking community per the city plan. It's time you quit trying to shove this way of business or operating down our throats, literally and figuratively, with a Big Mac, Subway sandwich, or 31 flavor. This town, its history, surrounding country, and rich farmland deserve better than this. You are capable of better. Stop selling out to the highest bidders. The people of San Juan deserve better. If we wanted this, we would choose to not live here or drive to Hollister or Gilroy for these types of businesses. Keep San Juan small, free of big box businesses, and protect its farmland and don't develop it into another Hollister. And the last one is from Carl Lever. Please don't proceed with the reckless development of our town. Only the developers and their cronies are happy about new developments. Also, the gas station complex across 156 is a bad idea. Please listen to the residents of this town.
Thank you.
I have a question. Alfonso, would you like your letter read into the record?
Yes.
Would you mind?
Did
I
we
don't
get-
think that went to the staff, but it came to the council, individual council.
Did we get that?
I got one. I know Tony
I
got
know I
one,
got one.
but I don't think it went to city staff. It came directly to my home.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, for the last 2.5 years, Hacienda de Leal Hotel has been adding value to the community by remodeling the old San Juan Inn and converting it to a 5-star rated, parentheses, Yelp, TripAdvisor, Facebook, boutique hotel. We have shown a consistent increase in revenue over the last few years. We provide the city with 12% transient occupancy tax on every night stay. According to the 2015-2016 fiscal year budget for the city of San Juan Bautista, the city was projecting to collect a total of $65,000 in TOT funds. Hacienda de Leal has collected the following amounts during 2014 through 2016. 2014 was $16,622.16. 2015 was $68,327.25. 2016 is $60,492.78. In the past 26 months that Hacienda de Leal has been in business, we have generated a grand total of $145,442.19 in transient occupancy tax paid to the city of San Juan Bautista. Hacienda de Leal made up 17% of the city's proposed budget for the 2015-2016 fiscal year in tax revenue. Our business has been showing consistent growth over the last few years and is projecting a 30% increase in sales over the next year. With this increase, Hacienda de Leal will rise to become one of the highest tax-producing businesses in the entire city. As our business continues to grow, the concern of a gas station and quick-serve restaurant poses an immediate threat to our business's growth. The gas station and quick-serve restaurant would be adjacent to our property and would significantly increase the amount of traffic in the area. There is currently no turn lane on Highway 156 turning into the Alameda. With an estimated 1,800 vehicles turning onto the street to then enter the gas station, it will only increase the amount of accidents and traffic on the road. The issues of crime and vandalism are also a concern of ours. Not only will this increase the traffic, but the noise level and air pollution will increase as well. We are not in favor of this project and know that several of our fellow business operators and owners agree with our concerns of not allowing such a project to get approved in our charming city. Sincerely, Alfonso Castillo, General Manager, Hacienda de Leal.
Thank you. I did get that.
Thank you.
Letter. Okay.
There were two others, but they read them at the podium. Max Ward and Ruth Sanchez.
Oh, okay. All right, great. Thank you. Okay, we'll close the public hearing then and bring it back
I think
to council.
I'm
sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I will be brief. Several of the speakers tonight reiterated their concerns or opposition on various issues that were the subject of the prior litigation and were already determined in favor of the city. For example, the traffic safety issue. The city, as I mentioned earlier, has entered into an agreement to see the turn lane constructed, which is what Caltrans said is needed to address the safety issue in that intersection, and that will be constructed prior to the opening of this business. So those issues have been resolved by the court already, as similarly have the issues regarding wildlife. Obviously, I think we heard Mr. DeVries' campaign speech this evening. You have a specific ordinance in the city, which is what circumscribes your conduct as a city council, and it describes circumstances under which it is appropriate for you to approve businesses which may be a formula retail business, in other words, a business that occurs in other locations. And that ordinance says, and you made findings specific to that ordinance previously, that it would offer services or products not available otherwise to the citizens of your community. For example, diesel fuel. The Valero is the only gas station in the city, and apparently its prices are significantly higher than other gas stations charge in the community because it has a monopoly. That was another finding you made, that there's a need for competition. Also, you have found that there are not an opportunity to buy necessities such as you found before, groceries, milk, bread, or over-the-counter medical supplies after 9 p.m. in the city. In addition, this building and this design were completely redesigned to look like a Spanish-style structure with significant landscaping in order to present an attractive, consistent, mission-style architecture that the city has, and present itself in a manner that is an attribute to the city, including a tourist kiosk that provides tourists who are traveling down the highway, not through the city, the information on why they should visit the city of San Juan Bautista. So you have already adopted findings on this. There is nothing different about this project than the project before. There is no information that would call into question the conclusions contained in both your general plan noise study and the specific noise study that the city conducted for this project. It will meet the noise requirements. It will not add, according to your own study, a perceptible additional amount of noise than already exists in a very noisy area already. The amount of additional noise created by cars turning into this driveway or the street is going to get louder because there are significant development opportunities past this project that will use this same street. So it is a noisy area. It will continue to be a noisy area, but this revised and reduced size project does not contribute an amount of noise based on the mitigations that are attached to the staff report that would increase that. So we would respectfully request that you support the staff recommendation for approval. The court has upheld everything you've done, and so long as you adopt the noise mitigations based on the reports that you have before you, I believe it will uphold what you've done tonight, and there's nothing that's been presented tonight that in any way implicates either the need to prepare an EIR, which the court also rejected, or overturns the conclusions on any of the issues the city litigated and were determined in favor of the city by Judge Sanders. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, may I speak? I'm the appellant.
Sure.
Yeah, the appellant. No, the reason why you're here is because I have built on me.
Just speak to us, okay?
Yeah, I will. So one thing that you'll notice that Mr. Lombardo did not say, and you will not hear tonight, is that this cluster of businesses, catty corner from the windmill, will not contain a McDonald's, a Subway, a 31 Flavors, a Starbucks, name it. I challenge Mr. Lombardo right now to stand up and tell you that it won't. And I challenge you as council members to make a decision. Do you want to protect homegrown businesses in this town or not? If you do, then like I said the first time I got up here, put your vote there. Let's hear it. The community wants to hear it. As to the configuration of this lot, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Rick, you and I tried to make it work way back in the 90s. The ingress egress is awful. You have to get those turn lanes in. You have to reconfigure that whole intersection. Once that gets done, then maybe you can do something there. Is it zoned, as former Councilwoman Cosio said, is it zoned properly? Yeah, it's zoned for something to happen there, not this. We could do something far better there. We could do a wine tasting room or a federally funded visitor center for the Pinnacles National Park. We could do something really special there, really, really nice, that would fit this town. But you guys doing a 12-pump Arco AM/PM mini market with a McDonald's and a Subway or a Starbucks, you're going to change this town. And I know Councilman Bach. I
got to respond to that. Do you actually think that a McDonald's would go in there? Have you ever investigated what it costs for a franchise?
I'll do you one better. I'll do you one better, Councilman Bach. I'll do you one better.
Mr. Mayor.
Since you're calling me out, I need to respond.
Please call this.
All right.
We've heard the same information previously.
I have a
he's repeating everything
Dan,
he said before.
That's it.
I have a copy of a blueprint from the city files that has plans for McDonald's, Councilman Bach. If you don't like that, then I'm sorry. But I'm telling you that's the truth.
Well, Mr. DeFries, you're taking it out of context. That was the very first submittal, and we rejected that and told the applicant specifically that it was not allowed.
No,
that was specifically, and I was there with Mr. Dadwell, and what you're doing is conjecture.
No, okay, well,
all right, that's it.
Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry. That's it, Dan. We can go on all night like this. You've made your points. You've had your time. Sit down.
So regardless of any of
regardless of anything else you have to say,
then just condition it.
You've had your time. You asked for rebuttal. I gave you rebuttal. That's it.
Condition it on no franchise businesses.
You've already said that. That's it.
Do it.
Okay, I want to make a couple of points here, and I'm not trying to take sides. These are points to think about, and it's in response to some of the comments tonight. There was talk of the increased traffic from this gas station. Now, Hacienda de Leal is a beautiful structure. It bears no relation to what was there before. But you can't tell me that there aren't cars going down the street into that property that weren't going into the old San Juan Inn. The traffic has increased, and that's why the TOT taxes have gone up. So there is a lot of traffic going in and out of that place already before anything gets built on this property on the corner. That's number one. Number two, the fatality. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, I may be, because I didn't hear this from a police officer, but my understanding of that recent fatality was that, number one, he didn't cross with the light, number two, he didn't cross in the crosswalk, and number three, he was wearing dark clothing at night. Now, is that correct or not? Does anybody know?
Where was he heading?
That is correct.
You got to close the public hearings.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll close the public hearing. Okay. Truck traffic. I could be wrong, but the configuration of this gas station is not going to allow trucks to go in and out of there except the ones delivering gas, and they're going to have a hell of a time doing it. And I just don't see this being a truck stop, and so I kind of object to characterization of it. I mean, I get gas in Gilroy all the time because I have to use either Chevron or Shell, or my car doesn't, neither one of my cars runs right. So on my way to work, I stop at Garlic Farm Inn and I get gas there. There's trucks in and out of the truck stop next door because it's made for trucks, and they can get in there, get out. The whatchamacallit, the coverings are up high so that they can fit under them. It's made for trucks. They're in and out of the Garlic Farm station to get coffee and cigarettes and, lotto tickets and all that stuff. But it's foot traffic. The trucks are next door, and they go where places are made for them. Okay, that's number three. Oh, wait, I did cover trips already. Yeah, okay, that's all my points. I had 3, not 4. I'm just throwing this out for the sake of argument because I think that we need, if we're going to consider everything that's been said, we need to consider these things too. So with that, whoever wants to start off. You want to start off?
I read through all the material again. I have not seen or heard anything, I don't think, that we have not heard or seen previously. I have not seen anything compelling that would cause me to change my opinion on this particular subject. I don't think I have anything to add.
Okay, first off, I want to apologize for speaking out of turn. It just kind of really upsets me when right in here it says, the building is proposed to be divided into 2 commercial functions with a small convenience store, central retail, and fuel checkout counter, and 2, a restaurant with dining room accommodations and no drive-through window. Now, I know I saw the original set of plans, and I think I probably said to Roger, hey, there's not going to be a McDonald's there, period. My contention as far as McDonald's, some of these other franchises, it costs you hundreds of thousands of dollars just to buy a McDonald's franchise, plus the equipment, everything. McDonald's controls everything. Do you actually think that somebody would put a McDonald's on that corner? I mean, come on. There's no money there. Second thing is,
just a minute.
Don't ask.
No comment from the public, please.
Okay, second thing is the traffic. I didn't realize it until I was talking to Kurt Kurosaki one day. People are coming off of the highway, making a right turn on the Alameda and a left turn on the old San Juan Highway, and doing probably, Kurt says he went out there doing 50 miles an hour or better on that road, and you gotta be crazy, that road is a piece of junk. But they're doing all this to get 4 cars ahead of whoever was there. That has nothing to do with this fuel station. Nothing. That's just you see it all the time in the Bay Area, and I couldn't believe when Kurt was telling me what was going on there. I don't know what we or the county could do, because half of that road is a county road. And if they want to put speed bumps in there or something like that, I don't know. But how you discourage that, I can't figure out. So I'm in favor of this project. I've always been in favor of this project. I don't see where it's going to harm this downtown area of San Juan Bautista. It's like I told Tammy Haracha one day. I said, I don't understand why you're so against this. If he has a sign up there that points and says, hey, there's a Doña Esther's and a Hardin's and a Happy Rooster and a Mission Cafe and whatever, the Basque restaurant, I can't pronounce the name of it, in that town.
Good Eats.
And if one person out of that 1,300 cars that turns in there comes into town and has dinner or lunch at Doña Esther's, that's one more person that they never would have had. All right. Now, so where's the harm? Where's the harm in the downtown area? I just don't see it. I think it's a good project. The applicants have done everything we've asked them to do. So that's my comments, I guess.
Okay, I've already spoken, so I'll go last because I do have some comments. But Robert?
Well, I'll tell you, I live on Mission Vineyard, and yeah, it is a racetrack between 3 and 6, trying to get those extra 4 spaces, because that could make or break, dinner. And yeah, those cars, they race up and down. But I'll tell you, those cars, if they were going 5 miles an hour, would be 10 times quieter if they were going 50, 60 miles an hour. And we're making a right turn, and we're making an immediate left. We're not even going towards Leal. We're not even going down to Mission Vineyard. We're just doing the quick entrance and exit there. And those cars are going to be going very slow, and the noise is going to be reduced a lot when they slow down. The trucks, we'll never get rid of them. It's the freeway. I think some of the money that we get from this project, we need to use it for advertisement, tourists. We need to talk these people into turning left. And if they need to get gas, they can make a right. But let's focus on the town. Let's use this money and start, investing in signage off the freeway and get it into commercials. This project could be really positive in tourism. And as a councilman, if a McDonald's or some other than Wiener Schnitzel, well,
that's prejudice.
Comes through here, I won't approve a project with a fast food or something through there. I will not do it. I'm sorry. If they got a plan, I'd love to keep a little mom and pops over there, so the people on that side of the street, Lang Street, people that come over from the hotel or that, don't have to cross the Alameda. The same safety for the people on that side is the same safety we're going to have for the people on this side. That poor gentleman who was crossing the street, he was just trying to get back to his hotel when he got hit. There's a major problem there. Roger talked about having a pedestrian overcross that was approximately about $800,000. Be great signage, make it to fit. We wouldn't have this issue of people crossing over. He was talking about $800,000. I think over a project, that would be a great dealing. Money into this town by just having, the fuel station in there. What they're going to advertise for a restaurant, I think the council will and is strong enough to discourage any type of fast food formula business coming through. Very strong about that. Mr. Dadwell has done everything. He's been over backwards. We've talked to him, hey, look at the site design. Let's do this. We're going to have a deceleration lane. Everything that Caltrans wanted is all going to be done into specs. Everything that through there. Noise study. A noise study is always going to be inconclusive. You cannot predict noise. Tomorrow there might be a resolution through D&V to say, okay, you can have open headers on cars now. Okay, so you can't predict that. As far as construction, and there's going to be somebody there monitoring it, I think that if these noise levels are broken, I think the residents should be compensated in the area. And we need to be very, very strong about this. And we need to take this to a next point and get past it. I have spent hundreds of hours on this over the years. Everybody up here, I'd really like to spend my time on something that's a little more worth for San Juan and a little more advertising and get these people downtown. If somebody's got to make a right to get gas, that's fine, but let's start directing them left. And let's use these funds and make that tourism happen. That's what I have.
Well, I wasn't here when this project first came up. And so the first thing I did was I looked at the law. This gentleman bought the property and it was zoned for this project. He went through our process, from what I can tell, and went and checked every box. He dotted every I and he crossed every T. And he has a right to do that business because he did follow the rules. It was our rules. We said, if you do A, B, and C, you get to do this. He did A, B, and C, and now we're going to say no? That's ridiculous. What kind of message does that send? And as far as the traffic, the 156 is a god-awful mess. I mean, it is a complete mess. And we know that, but it's going to be fixed, and there's nothing we can do about it because it's Caltrans. And Caltrans was going to fix it next year, but now they're not going to fix it because the funds have gone away. So I go back to the same thing. Did the applicant, was everything right? Is there anything wrong in there? I can't find anything wrong. And if I can't find anything wrong, I'm going to approve the project.
Okay, I want to make one point. Nobody is going to leave 101 and drive to this gas station, 2.5, 3 miles away to get gas. They're already going through. They're on their way to the valley. They don't plan to stop here in San Juan. And what's going to happen is with this gas station there, if they need to stop to go to the bathroom, to get a Coke, or to get gas, they're going to stop there and spend money. And maybe while they're there, they might look around and see the town, and maybe they'll come back on the next trip and spend some money in town, because that's what we really want, right? So I see this as a way to capture money that is zipping through our town right now. That's what I see. Nobody else, maybe we'll go over there and buy gas. I don't know. Depends on what kind of gas goes in there for me. But it's going to get some business from the town, but the bulk of the business at that gas station and that convenience store is going to be from people passing through who otherwise would not stop. And their money goes through with them. And how many times do we talk about generating more tourist traffic in town? We don't want people to come here and live. We want them to come here and spend their money and go home at night. Right? Because, I mean, let's face it, residential taxes don't really pay. You do have to have growth. We're getting a lot of it right now. That's a whole other subject. But we want people to come here and spend their money and be happy and come back and spend it again and try all the restaurants. You know, when the windmill wanted to put in their lunch counter, there was a lot of opposition from the restaurants downtown. And I can understand that. They felt threatened. I understand. But I would bet you that the people who go into Windmill and buy food would not otherwise go to one of the other restaurants in town. You're capturing money there, I think, that would not come into town otherwise. So I don't think that's taking any money away from Donya's, Hardina's, the Basque restaurant, JJ's. It is people passing through that decide they'll buy something to eat. And if they didn't have that lunch counter there, I think they just keep on going. So I see the gas station the same way. It's going to capture money that we wouldn't get otherwise. And it does provide a service. We don't have diesel here in town. That alone is something we need to think about.
That's you and me, bud.
And it will also have an electric car charging station there.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to add this, is that Mr. Deadwall has worked with us tirelessly, and he has in between the convenience store and the restaurant, he has specifically allowed us to design a visiting center in there that is going to be, and the late Richard Ponce was just adamant about donating stuff that can be featured, and hopefully the San Juan Committee can keep the thing up so that when people go in to pay their bill or buy something, they're going to walk right past that visiting center and they're going to see things, and it's going to call their attention to say, oh, gee, look at the restaurants that we have. Look at the things that we have. And that's going to expose more tourists to come in. You know? And I think Mr. Dadwell's done a great job of allowing us that input to design the thing.
I do have to make one comment about that. I was looking at the plans today, and that kiosk is going to be in like a lobby in between two parts of the restaurant, or two parts of the complex. It really needs to be inside the convenience store where people are going in and out all the time.
It is. Yeah. We have it enclosed now and inside, and it's right between the two, and then right next to the bathrooms where people are going.
Yeah, but if they don't go through that lobby, I mean, there's two sets of doors, and it's right in there. It's the only thing in between those two sets of doors. If it were inside where the candy is, it would get seen.
Yeah.
At least by me. So anyway, that's why I'm in favor of the project, because I see it as a way to capture money that we would not get otherwise. And it also provides a service. I don't have a diesel car that runs on diesel or a pickup, but those people who live here in town have to go out of town to gas up. And you know, I always remember there was a little old lady who lived on First Street, and she's dead now, but her son-in-law had to take her car out of town to gas it up because she couldn't drive out of town. She was in her 90s. And then when Valero came in, it took care of that problem. But the same situation exists for anybody that uses diesel. We're forcing them to go out of town to fuel up their vehicle.
It's a minimum 40-mile round trip to the closest. Well,
Is it?
actually, it's about 23-mile round trip from town to get diesel and back. So basically,
23?
Yeah, you
Gilroy.
got 11 and a half there and 11 and a half back.
Oh, okay, right.
On a round
Right.
trip.
Yeah. So anyway, you know, a lot of people have raised a lot of objections here, but you know, let's be truthful about this. You know, some of these things that we've mentioned here also have to be considered. And you know, we're spending a lot of time, let me just point this out. There's a lot of time talking about the noise that is going to be generated in the construction of this project. Come on. That's nitpicking. You know, let's be honest about this. How long is it going to take to put this place up? 6 months, 8 months, 3 months? So we're worried about construction noise during the construction phase of the project? Come on. That's nitpicking. Let's talk about the noise that's going to exist after the project is built. That's what we should be concerned about. You know, we have to be fair about this. So, anyway, I'm done.
I just wanted to add, I am looking into the Alameda Mission Vineyard Laguna Seca Raceway, and I have been talking to the county about this, about how we're going to be able to slow this down. You know, by putting some more stop signs in, we could probably put one in at Mission Vineyard, maybe one where Copperleaf, maybe one at there, and make it not worth it to these people that I think that they're going to be able to race around and get that 4-car headlight, you know. You know, they're just going to have to.
Getting off the subject.
But back to that. But I just wanted to let the people know that we are looking into that.
If you put up a stop sign, you have to put a cop there. Otherwise, they're not going to stop.
Photo.
So, any more comments from the council? No. No?
No.
So
Trish,
we
anything?
have where's my agenda? Okay, consider approval and adoption of the revised mitigated negative declaration.
I'll make a motion that we, resolution number 2016, what is it?
47.
47. A resolution of the City Council of the City of San Juan Bautista adopting the initial study, mitigated negative declaration, and mitigated monitoring program for project DR 2014-101 and CUP 2014-101 at 404-408, the Alameda, consisting of a fuel station, convenience store, and quick-serve restaurant.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call.
Councilmember West?
Yes.
Councilmember Bach?
Yes.
Councilmember Lenn?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Martirana?
Aye.
Mayor Ed?
Yes.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Okay, and the next item here is consider approving Resolution 2016-XX, approving the project set forth above. Any discussion?
No, sir.
Is that for the egg?
I guess I need to open the public comment for that too. No? It was covered
So-
already? Okay. So,
It's 48.
it's the...
You know, there are
Yeah.
3 planning commission seats open. If anybody has a vested interest in these projects, is interested in getting involved, we need people on the planning commission right now. There are 3 vacant seats. That's my little commercial.
Good time to advertise
I
that.
find that?
What are you looking for?
What's that
Your
time?
next resolution.
It's probably in there someplace.
It's right behind.
I know I saw
It's
it.
The other ones.
A2-4.
Oh, okay.
In the binder packet, you'll see it.
This one?
It's the next one right behind. Yeah, deny and then freeze.
All right.
Yeah.
I move that we approve Resolution 48?
48?
A resolution of the City Council of the City of San Juan Bautista denying an appeal filed February 11, 2014 by Dan DeVries on behalf of Real Winery, Inc. of the Planning Commission approval of the use permit application number CUP 2014-11 and design review application number DR 2014-11 for a fuel station, convenience store, quick serve restaurant at 404-408 the Alameda and approving both the applications with the findings and the conditions of the approval following de novo public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call.
Councilmember West?
Yes.
Councilmember Bach?
Yes.
Councilmember Lenn?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Martirana?
Aye.
Mayor Ed?
Yes.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you. Number 6, action items. Planning Commission. Accept the resignation of Eric Gretisoff from the Planning Commission and present recognition. Eric, I'm sorry we made you sit through that. You probably would have anyway. But if you'd like to come up here, we're going to miss you. We appreciate your service. I understand how it is when you have grandkids.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck to you. And if things don't work out there, or if they move back here, come back and see us.
Can I just say a few things?
Yes.
Thank you, Robert, for giving me the opportunity to serve on the Planning Commission. It is, I want to say it's unfortunate and very fortunate that we are leaving. We love the town. We moved here 3.5 years ago. We had planned to stay here for a very long time. As you all know, I've served on Strategic Planning Committee, Neighborhood Watch, and the Planning Commission here, as well as other events around town, and it's been an honor to do it here. The fortunate part about it is that I get to live within a stone's throw of my newly born granddaughter. So that is the reason why we're leaving. It's not because we don't love the city, and like I said, it's just been an honor serving for the city in general.
Grandkids are better, Eric.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Grandkids for a couple weeks to come back.
He'll be back. A couple 2 a.m. feedings, he'll be back.
Yeah.
Costco has a really good price on diapers, by the way.
You got hot dogs.
Okay, accept the resignation of Lorraine Koch from the Planning Commission and present recognition. I don't have,
So Lorraine
She
was
got
in
hers.
the community last weekend on the 15th, so we presented her with a plaque at the Planning Commission.
oh, okay, good. All
That
right.
was the plaque presentation. Now we're just acknowledging her resignation.
Okay, good. And then we have appoint new planning commissioners.
We also have Vanda's.
Yes,
And
there's,
Vanda too has resigned,
since
I
this
know.
agenda, yes.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to change that posting. You have two, you need three.
Yeah. Well, I'm out of this because Dave is still with us so far. And I appreciate your work. I appreciate all of the Planning Commission and the Historic Resources Board because having done it myself, I know it's a lot of work. A lot. More work than we have here, except for tonight. So, do we want to continue this? I mean, is anybody ready to make appointments or do you want to continue?
No, I'm not aware of any.
Yeah, I didn't
I'm
know
not aware
about-
of any applicants. Have we had any applicants?
I've only handed out a form for one
Okay. And nothing,
application form and nothing back at this point.
okay.
Okay,
Well, that settles that.
so we'll
Well, if
continue
we only
that.
have 2 people on the planning commission,
We have no quorum.
But fortunately, the agenda is very light, and there's no major applications, and so appropriate with only 2, we can cancel that meeting.
Continue.
And then that'll give us breathing room until we get into 1st of December.
I see a couple in the audience I could appoint right now.
Well, you need to talk to them first. Okay, so let's,
I already asked her. She said, she slapped me up alongside the head.
I is not good.
all right, so we'll continue this to next meeting. Next item is Rancho Vista subdivision, approved resolution 2016 XX, approving a final subdivision map for phase 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is 6B.
And in your thing is a map that shows the first phase 4 of the subdivision. And see, do you have it? Yeah, right, yeah. And basically, this is the first 4 phases. They're going to be doing the grading. They'll be submitting shortly the site and design review for the first 12 to 14 lots. And that'll be coming in front of the Planning Commission under a site and design review and stuff like that. The approval of the final map is one where they have the subdivision improvement agreement, the bonds, the necessary insurance certificates, the necessary recording fees, plan check fees, inspection fees, all of this as we outlined in the staff report, and then the reimbursable agreement. And that reimbursable agreement is where they'll be paying their fair share of the turnaround at 3rd and Donner Street, as well as the widening of 3rd Street between the western boundary of the D'Ambrosio subdivision all the way to North Street. And so they're participating their fair share, as well as in the next agenda item, the hillside is the D'Ambrosio project, and then that will also culminate with the widening of that. The applicants have submitted all of the necessary maps. We have the improvement plans here, the final maps and everything. Generally, the final maps will not probably be recorded for approximately maybe 2 weeks after the approval tonight, because then they have to go get subdivision guarantee and then the tax clearance letter. And generally, that takes about a week to week and a half to get it through the tax collector. So tonight, you'll be approving the final map and accepting the offer of dedication for those streets that are contained in that first 4 units. And that is Cantanio Way, Vista Way, Cantanio Place, Rancho Way, and what's the... Yeah.
Lebanino, is that one of them?
Yeah. Yeah, and then also with that is that it was called to my attention, and it was an oversight, is condition 12, the conditions of approval. We were adding just a little clarification to that, where it was to form the applicant shall form and implement a Melrose Community Facility District for the combination and continual maintenance and repair of the internal roads, replacement of sanitary lift station, storm drain channel, and street sweeping and open space maintenance. So we're going to add to there the internal roads.
The what?
Internal roads.
Take care of the high roads in second.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right.
And that would be condition number 12.
Yeah.
And of the subdivision, there is a total of 51 conditions of approval.
So the first 4 phases, how many lots is that going to be? 48?
It'll be 48 altogether. 48.
And so the remainder would be in the phases 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah, 5, 6, and 7, yes.
Okay.
And in this phase here, it includes the roundabout on the corner at the San Juan Highway and First Street intersection, where that will be the roundabout, yeah.
I don't know if you can guess at this, but, or maybe you've heard, but how quickly are they going to build and sell these? Is it going to go like a dozen homes at a time, or?
Well, like any development, the marketability of what how many they can sell, in a certain period of time dictates how many they're going to build and stuff like that. So it really is going to be where they'll be grading this stuff here, and then they will be submitting the first phase, the site design review, probably of phase 1 and 2 or 1 and 3, to show how that's going to be there. And then the models will be probably on between phase 1 and 2, and then from there they're going to gauge how many they need as they go forward.
Okay.
I got one question. The street names. When does that come into effect?
Those were chosen by the Planning Commission
Okay.
after reviewing it. When the tentative map went into effect, they were A, B, C, and D, and then they came back with, and they wanted to keep it local and stuff like that. So they picked those names that were emblematic of some of the fathers or the forefathers of the area, or town fathers that served on commissions, and the mayor. Let's see, there's Catania, and then there was
Lavanino.
Lavanino.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, they
I didn't
left
see
out
London
West
there.
London.
I didn't see London.
I thought they put West London.
Look at West Lund, it's.
And it's going to go north and south.
Just a little trivia.
But,
My wife
where's
was-
the roundabout on 3rd Street? Where is that?
It's going to be on 3rd and Donner, and that's part of the next
Oh, it's
project.
actually outside the subdivision.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's going to be on the next project when you see it, and that'll be the roundabout for the D'Ambrosio, which we call the hillside development.
Yeah.
And that's the widening of 3rd Street, and they're going to construct the first 8 lots, and then put a roundabout there, as well as the widening of that section where Eric lives, between there and North Street. It's only 27 feet between face of curb to face of curb, and then that'll be widened out.
To what?
I think we're going to get it out to 32 feet 7 inches.
Should have held out.
Yeah.
I love roundabouts. I love them. My wife hates them.
When she gets used to them, they're great. The other question I've gotten, I've been asked several times, the subdivision is going to improve, let me call it First Street, it's actually San Juan Highway, all the way to the end of their subdivision? Is that
To the
correct?
county line, right?
To
the
our
county
city
line.
limits line.
Yeah,
To our city limits line,
Right.
yeah. That will be from the roundabout at the intersection of Lavanino and First and San Juan, then north of that going to our county, our city boundary line, that will be overlaid
Okay.
24 foot of pavement all
And
the way
then-
to the end, yes.
Are they going to do both sides of it or just half of it?
No, no, the whole road will be overlaid all the way to the north end,
All right.
yeah.
Is that where the city limits are, is where the end of the property is?
Yes.
That's what I've been telling people. I thought that's what it was.
And with the application for the roundabout, it required the adjacent property owner, the Mr. and Mrs. Loqueza from Morgan Hill, to dedicate the thing, and we met with them, and they're dedicating the necessary right-of-way to construct the roundabout.
Great.
And then what they will gain is that they will have a built-in road and driveway for them, so that then they can access their property. So it'll fit into a nice arrangement for them.
Good.
So you need a motion to accept the final subdivision?
Well,
We need to discuss it.
I'll open up the public hearing, but
Well,
any
they
other
don't get out.
questions before we open up the public hearing?
The subdivision for this one phase, the first phase, will pay a plan checking fee of approximately $53,800 and an inspection fee of $71,700. And that's the combination to make sure that it will not impact the city staff, and we can have that availability to hire construction inspectors and building inspectors. In and amongst that is that the subdivision also projected each building permit that is issued as they go through the site and design review will contribute $2,000 over and above that into a fund that the city can use as they're in their discretion. It's not impact fee, it's over and above as your discretion. Coupled with the impact fees, and each impact fee will probably run about $26,000 to $28,000. So.
Okay. I'll open up the public hearing. Do you have any speaker cards?
Yes, John Hopper.
Thank you very much. First of all, just to get to the heart of what I just want to say tonight, I want to thank the council for your closing comments relative to that last project. I think that transparency is what is really necessary in this town. And for me personally, some of the insight you gave was very meaningful. I want to commend Councilmember Bott for his compassionate comments, your observations, Mr. Mayor, and Mr. Lund, your observations on what I think you're calling the left turn. I just want to say that I think where we may have erred in this town on that particular project, because I've never said I was opposed to it, I just said I was opposed to the process, was the transparency, the sudden urgency to change our ordinance relative to franchise to quick serve. I hear from the council tonight that that's not going to happen, but I think that's what created a lot of concern for us. Specifically with this project, I just wanted to say that I think that there's a trend with building in general, and I probably don't need to get up here to say anything for the next project, but it seems that we have learned in this town, unlike my tenure on the planning commission and on the city council, that you can skate the process, which you have a fiduciary responsibility for and a legal responsibility for, in my opinion, to avoid the EIR process. And the EIR process, bless Mecca McGovern if she was here, and I can't tell you how many times I sat in your seat, Mr. Mayor, told her to shut up and sit down, bless her heart.
I could tell you another story about that.
But just saying that, I think that the fact that she kept us on track, Ms. Mall, and, Ryback and all those city attorneys before her, she made us follow the process. She did not allow a city manager who, with all due respect, Roger, might be jaded by the fact that he can do things or not do things, skate the process. I do not believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that an EIR has been done in any of these recent projects. Well, that's a question you should ask yourselves.
And I think that's really important because you're talking about huge amounts of earth being moved. You know, I'm not going to say if I'm a caterpillar guy or a salamander guy or what I am, but I'm just saying we need to respect the community, respect the earth, respect our environment. And I just, with all due respect, Roger, I think that sometimes we're skating that process. There were issuing permits to chop down trees, like at the ARCO station or other places, before a project fully comes to the bodies that are necessary to regulate it. The Planning Commission should give full approval to a project. And then the city manager should be empowered to issue grading permits, cutting down trees, whatever he or she, as the city manager, needs to do. They should not have the authority to move beyond that. He or she serves at your pleasure and the Planning Commission's pleasure. We just can't skate that. And again, back to my further comment, I think transparency is the issue here. It's got a lot of us, like myself, up riled in this town about maybe things, based on your last comments here, we shouldn't be riled up about. But for God's sakes, excuse me, I'm sorry, I realized my time's up. But let's just follow a process. Let's give the planning commissioner their full due. Let's let a city attorney sit at those meetings and say, well, you guys should consider an EIR, and these are the reasons why. Let's consider public, further public testimony about noise and other issues. I think that will do a lot to repair the ill will in this community right now. Because I've sat in your seats and I hated that. And I did my best to repair that. But, I just think that in all these projects, you should just simply ask yourself, did we really look at all the proper planning processes? Did we do an ER? Did we do noise studies, etc.? Thank you for your time. And Councilmember Bach, I realize I'm over, and I thank you.
Thank you, John.
Sorry, John.
Okay, any other?
Yes, I have one for Dan DeGree. Okay. John Freeman.
So I'm going to talk about something a little bit different, but I'd like to second what John Hopper just said. Transparency is really important, and I appreciate that you guys all explained and rationalized your decision. I think that goes a long ways to help everything out. So I'm going to talk about something some other people have heard me talk about, but not everybody. It's called a dig once policy. This city needs it. This new development needs it. It'll be to your benefit if you do it. So what it means is, as you know, phones are going away. No one has a landline phone anymore. And AT&T is not going to repair the system anymore. So they're not even going to work in a few years. So that means if you want a phone that's connected to a line, you got to use a VoIP phone, which is an internet phone for those of you who don't know. And most communication is going to be by internet these days. So what it means is when we dig a hole for a sewer line, for a water line, we also throw in a big plastic conduit for broadband utility lines. And the developer can do it, the city can do it, they use their own money, it's really cheap. It's less than 74 cents a foot to do it when the hole is already opened. It's very, very expensive if you have to go open a hole again. That 74 cents is like a hundredth of what it would cost. And so what it really is simply planning ahead. So I'm just asking everyone to plan ahead. We should have a policy. We don't. Part of it's my fault. I was going to push it, and I haven't pushed it lately because I'm doing other things. But we need it. They need it. Guess what? You can get money back from AT&T and Charter and Comcast and Google Fiber or whoever's going to. They're not going to come in, but whoever, Cruise.io, because you lease or sell the lines to them. So you get all your money back plus some. It's a win-win for everybody, especially the town. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Just kind of, what were you talking on intergovernment? They were talking about the fiber. And They were going to send a microwave about at that point because they didn't want to go the 5 miles down 156.
Yes.
Is that kind of in reference to what they're using?
No.
Or-
So what John's referring to is a localized distribution. What the internet provider that made the presentation at the Intergovernmental Committee was talking about is he's already spent the money to get the fiber to the city limit. He's looking to avoid digging a trench all the way to Hollister. It really doesn't have any bearing. I agree with John. I know this came up as a discussion item. Bob, is this? Do you want to address this? Can you comment on this, or you?
Not at the moment, but I will. I'd like to come up with a comment in a minute, but not this specific.
Okay.
We've had a policy where when we are excavating is to drop a conduit in, but the future is not underground. The future is the air.
Well, the other thing about one dig, when you dig up into a new road and you patch it, it leaks, and the road doesn't last. That's the truth. There's no way you can do it.
We're getting off a bit on a tangent, I suppose. Because I agree with John. I think we should have a one dig policy. Yeah. We don't. It's something.
We'll agendize that next time.
We'd love to have the Planning Commission work on it as a project.
But in this subdivision, they're going to underground everything anyways, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we should maybe let Bob address it.
Yeah.
I think he can.
One last. Oh, really?
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, the difference between a mitigated negative deck and an EIR is that you can't mitigate. Then you got to go to an EIR. I have probably permitted, I'm going to say, a dozen quarries throughout California on mitigated negative decks, and those are big impacts. But unless you have an unmitigatable issue, you don't. The EIR doesn't do anything. The EIR is so that you can make findings of overriding consideration, and we don't have to do that. So I understand what John was saying about transparency, and I agree 100%. And maybe we should have a different way of getting out. But it's not EIR versus mitigated negative deck. That's not.
And I'd just like to add is the application that the Planning Commission does in requiring all the studies from archaeological to biological to traffic and everything, all goes into the mitigated negative declaration. The difference between EIR and everything is strictly maybe the fauna and the fauna and maybe a few additional studies that look at some there, and then where you can say, hey, we can't mitigate this, you have to make the overriding findings. That's the thing.
That requires
most all of the impacts that we can mitigate, you can do it with a mitigated negative declaration. And that there's a fine line between that document and a full EIR. It's just maybe a few studies and a few extra reports.
And if I can just add, you just did a general plan EIR, which covered the whole city, and for example, analyzed the noise that's part of the Dadwell project, which allowed you to use that as your program EIR and rest on those bases to use a mitigated negative deck. That's the way CEQA works, where you do a program EIR, such as your general plan, which was just accomplished within the last year. Then you can do mitigated negative decks underneath it using the analysis from your general plan EIR.
Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah. Okay, Bob, did you want to?
Mr. Mayor, council members, staff, as you know, Bob Fulton with the Rancho Vista project, and I've got to say, I've spent about 4 years now attending almost every public meeting until the last couple of months here within the town, starting before the general plan update meetings. I've had nights where I'm your only person in the audience sitting and listening to you. And we
thought we hired you to be.
If you would leave, we could go home, you know.
Well, and we created Rancho Vista with an awful lot of input from a lot of people. Anybody that was willing to show up at those meetings, we listened to. And we tried to adapt the project and create something. And we did create something I'm very proud of. I'm not a home builder, so I've taken it as far as I physically can take it. The builder that's going to build out the project is Meritage Homes. And if you want to see their product, go up to Gilroy. They've got a couple of wonderful subdivisions going up there. Meritage is a public builder. They tend to build single family. They don't do very much high density housing. They're a single family home builder. They build a great product, and they go into a lot of the, what we look at as the secondary or tertiary communities where housing's to be developed. And I'm excited they're going to build it. If you go through their models and come out of there, I don't think you can tell me this is not a good product. They do a great job. With that, you're going to see an awful lot less of me because I don't have any technical control over the project. I have a lot of input, and I will give input, and I believe that I can be of assistance. Tonight with me is Mark Currington, one of the guys that you're going to see from Heritage Homes. They'll be bringing to you soon the elevations and floor plans of the product they want to bring out. That'll be, if you ever get a planning commission again, they'll be bringing that in front of you.
We may be doing it ourselves.
Yeah. You might get a look at it. Cool. But, and Chris, Mr. Martirana, I apologize. The reason I couldn't answer your question on the one big policy and everything is because I'm not in control of that, and I won't be. But I will be able to put a lot of input to narrative. And I know everything that they have done with me and expressed with me leads me to believe that they will go that direction. Their land acquisition guy is actually a civil engineer, and he understands these things as well as anyone. Mark, I don't know as well, but you're going to get to know him as I will. And I want to thank Granite Rock, which I understand Mr. West works for them, but I never...
Work is a strange word.
They were really good to work with. They created that new hill outside of town. And so that everyone understands, that is just a stockpile. Over the next few months, and starting I believe next week, you'll start seeing grading operations go on to get prepared for the streets. That hill will come down, and it'll be roughly the elevation of Creek Ridge next door. Right now it looks like a massive hill, and it is, especially now that it's covered in plastic. But with that, I guess if you have any questions that Mark may be able to answer for you, be glad to do that. But I want to thank you guys all for your input and willingness to work with me. There are a couple other things that I am going to be in front of you for. They're not development projects. They're more fun projects. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For the record, Jim loves work. He could watch it all day long.
Yes. I try not to get too close.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
We thought you were going to build some houses up on top of that hill.
Just one big religious group.
I saw you were going to do a lift station for the sewer, and I thought, what do you need a lift station for? You can run it down, you know.
Slide it on down the hill.
In a water park.
Yeah. Well, hopefully a year from now we'll be standing here looking at houses that are really reflective of what you guys were looking for in Rancho Vista. So I'm anxious to see that.
I will just add one thing. There was a question as to pace.
Yeah.
4 to 6 is usually the conservative answer to that question. That's about where we're at in Gilroy right now, so I would assume that that would be 4 to 6 a month in terms of sale pace.
Oh, okay. I know it depends on sales, but and it depends on your capacity to, you know, how many you can have going at one time.
Yeah.
But just curious.
It's somewhat seasonal too.
Yeah.
So
They build them to sell.
Is there any pre-sold?
Not can't yet.
There's some projects where they're already sold.
There's no floor plans, there's no nothing yet.
Okay.
So.
Not yet.
Yeah.
I wanted that big lot so I could put a shop behind my house.
What the infrastructure that John referred to, the one big, is that something you would anticipate?
It's still.
We're not holding you.
I don't know who the provider is, but it is still standard. Every home builder still has landlines in their house. We're no exception to that.
So
it's typically a bundle through Charter or Comcast. If there is...
so you would anticipate accommodating conduit to the house?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we wouldn't sell a house without it.
Yeah, so for multiple vendors, essentially.
Yeah, there's agreements that we would enter into. AT&T is certainly somebody that I've done a lot of business with in the past. They do have a reimbursement agreement that's something that is appealing to builders. Charter, I don't know who provides here locally. Is it Charter? I'm assuming it would be Charter at the site. So.
Okay, thank you.
And if AT&T goes there, we would certainly.
They have a construction office in Gilroy if you want.
Charter?
Charter. I have no idea about it.
Actually, that's who we're using. Is Charter.
Thank you.
Okay, great. No questions? Thank you very much. We had the public comment period already, so
You're gonna
now we
close-
can adopt the resolution.
Close the public comment?
Yeah, yeah, that was when John and John
Okay.
spoke. So we have a resolution to approve the final subdivision map.
You want to bring it down,
And
council?
accept the offer of dedications for those roads that are in the first 4 phases.
Yeah, and take a break.
Yes, we do have to take a break.
And the
I'm with you.
subdivision improvement agreement.
Over 50 break.
And
Yeah,
the
the
subdivision
over 50.
improvement agreement outlines
I know, you're under
the
50.
construction and the bonds are posted that will guarantee that those improvements will be complete.
That's not in the resolution.
Do we have just one
No,
resolution on
it
this?
says supporting document. It's in the
Oh.
subdivision agreement.
Okay.
We have one resolution to accept the final map, and then that accepts also the...
All of the other
phase 1 through
subdivision
4 map
agreement,
And the agreement?
their
Okay.
plan checking, labor materials bond, plan checking, inspection fee, map recording fee, everything is
And the
contained.
streets, okay,
Yes.
so that one resolution. Okay, so we need a motion on the one resolution.
Any comments? No comments?
Actually, I just
I don't
wanted
have
to say
anything.
one thing.
I don't have any, no.
Robert does.
I just had one. I was, looking at some of the projects in the past, I think we've learned from them of what we need to help keep these projects going. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff that's included in this project that we didn't do with Creekside and stuff to maintain roads, lighting and landscape we have now, but a continuing revenue source that is going to keep that upgraded so it doesn't have to bear the expense out of the general fund to, keep repairing.
Well, the
what
idea
we
was
need
that
to.
the rest of the
So-
community does not have to pay for their roads or their lights or their landscaping.
Right.
And that's what we're trying
We
to
can
do.
focus on repairing what we need to repair downtown.
Yeah, we got enough to repair.
Okay,
This will be resolution 50, and the reason is during consent, there was a resolution for street closure. And
Oh,
I
okay.
had not assigned the numbers, so.
yeah,
Street
okay.
closure is 49 and this should be 50.
Okay.
Okay,
Anybody?
I'd like to make a motion, accept a resolution of the City Council of the City of San Juan Bautista approving final map of Rancho Vista subdivision, track number 322, phases 1, 2, 3, and 4, with supporting documents and fees in accordance with the San Juan Bautista Municipal Code, Chapter 10-2.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember West?
Yes.
Councilmember Bach?
Yes.
Councilmember Lund?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Martirana?
Aye.
Mayor Edge?
Yes.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the mayor passes unanimously.
And I'm going to declare a 10-minute recess.
I don't know why, is that enough for you, Jim?
I'm over.
And just to let you know, by adopting that, is you also adopted the subdivision improvement agreement, which is all the mitigation measures and monitoring reports and conditions of approval.
So, Mr. Bach came in.
Yes. Hey.
He skipped over 2, and Mr.
Yes, you're back. My God. I'm fine. And thanks for standing behind the motions that I made. Both D'Ambrosio and Christopher. I was the one making them. You know, the Christopher Ranch only had 3 of us because the other 2 had to recuse themselves.
Thank you very much.
You need somebody.
got in an argument with one of the regions that, well, God damn it, Roger's just a developer. I said, yeah, I'm a developer. I never made a penny in my life that wasn't building.
What's that? There's Tony. Okay, so where does
Chris.
Okay, we'll return from our 10-minute break 20 minutes ago. Come on. Okay, the next item. Okay, now we have final subdivision map, Hillside Vistas, which is the old D'Ambrosio project. Approved resolution approving a final subdivision map. So, Roger, did you want to make any remarks on this?
Mr. Mayor, just as a reminder, the D'Ambrosio was approved for 27 lots. The new owners came back and the Elite Development Corporation, which Jude is in the audience here, they split it into two phases. The first 8 lots along 3rd Street, and then the 19 lots on Nicholson Drive. And so tonight they're coming in to approve the final map on the first 8 lots, which would be phase 1. And there would be all the 8 lots all the way down along 3rd Street, and that would be the widening, and that includes the roundabout on 3rd and Donner, as well as the widening of the street between the eastern boundary of the subdivision to the street.
Okay.
And again, their subdivision map calls for dedicating and widening 3rd Street. They've posted the necessary bonds, pay for performance, the subdivision improvement agreement, the plan checking fee, inspection fees, map recording and duplication fees, and the reimbursable agreements. And the agreement. Again, the recording of the map would be is the accept the offer of dedication for the 3rd Street widening and first 80 feet of Nichols Drive.
Nichols Drive.
Nicholas Court.
Nichols Court, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
You Nicholas?
Okay, any questions before we
Yes.
open up?
Well, I thought we had a minimum lot size at 5,000 square feet.
This was a PUD, and the PUD, the lot size can be created by the planning commission, whatever it is.
Gotcha.
It could go down to a 3,500 if they wanted to in a PUD.
Okay.
So the first 8 lots happen to be large lots that meets the 7,000 square feet. But the back lots in the back go down to, I think, 39 to 4,000 square feet. Some
Actually, only one of these is 7,000 square feet.
7,000, yeah.
One of them is, all of the others are under 7,000.
Under 7,000, yeah.
Most of them are under, well, they're a mix, but one of them's at 48 or 4,600. That's why I was, okay. My house is on a 4,500 square foot lot on 3rd
Yeah.
Street, or 4th Street,
Yeah.
so.
And
I
that
don't have
was
a problem with it, I'm just,
yeah.
I was.
And that was a result of
square feet of parking.
Yeah. And that was a result
What's
of going
what's
through
the size of the lot
PUD.
across the street? The corner lot.
It's about 5,000. It's not very big.
Oh, it looks bigger than that.
Yeah, no, it's pretty small.
Okay. So you got 9,500 now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how we stopped a duplex from going up, was buying the lot, so.
Okay. All right, if no other questions, I'll open it up for public comment. Okay, do we have any speaker cards on this one?
John Hopper?
He's outside, if somebody could grab him.
Sorry about that, a bit of emergency.
That's okay.
So I think my comments would be somewhat the same. I just wanted to remind the council and the planning commission and city staff and Ms. Mall about the importance of looking at seriously the EIR process. I think one of your city manager's closing comments was something kind of light-hearted about the flora and the fauna. It is about the flora and the fauna. That's what an EIR is. Yeah, I mean, it's also about traffic noise, pollution, and other things. But if we're going to create significant impact upon land in this community, we need to look at those things. And I don't think we should skate that process by just taking some simple approach that, like, with all due respect, like a mining community, you might do something to move a project quickly through the community.
I'm sorry, have you ever permitted a quarry?
I have never. Well, actually, I did.
It's a 10 to 20 year project.
Yeah, I bet.
It's more rigid than a subdivision, I can tell you that.
No. But I'm just saying that, Mr. West made reference that he had used that process many times. I'm just saying, it's not the same as coming into a community like this and moving dirt around and impacting wildlife, chopping down trees where there's red hawks nesting currently on the property. So I'd also just like to ask you to remember that I think that we don't really look at the true meaning of impact fees. Impact fees to most communities means that if you're going to build 30 houses, 10 houses, 50 houses in our community, that means you don't create a document that says we'll pay for our own roads and streets and lighting and landscaping. We'll build a fire department. We'll staff that fire department. We'll make sure that we mitigate for the community any water that's necessary to support this project, sewer, etc. I remember addressing one of the previous city councils not too long ago when this project was here. He said, well, we do charge impact fees. No, you don't. You charge permit fees. Those are not impact fees. So I just want to remind the council, the planning commission, that you have the ability to say, okay, we approve this project, but you need to build a fire station, a wing to that. You need to do these things for our community. EIR process, impact fees, water, sewer, fire, and just remember, any property tax that you receive from these new properties will not support the life of that property. 21% of the taxes on that property, which is a few $100s in this town, is all that you're really going to recognize. I just ask the council and the planning commission in their future deliberations to take into consideration the true impact upon the community and mitigate that. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Any other speaker cards?
Mr. DeFreeze is still not back, but I have his comments.
Okay.
And I believe that's it.
That's it. Okay. Any discussion by the council?
You're going to close the public hearing? Or?
Oh, yeah. I'll close the public hearing. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I got it.
That's why I keep you guys around.
I don't want to argue with John. I really don't. But a mitigated negative deck looks at as everything that an EIR looks at. It really does. And the only reason you go to an EIR is because you have unmitigatable issues. The noise is so loud you can't do it. You can mitigate it, but you can't get it down to a level of less than significance. And that's why you go to that. And it's a very long process, but it's not that with an EIR you're looking at something that you didn't look at before. And the other thing, there was another thing and I forgot it. John, you got me all worked up. I apologize.
Well, Jim, I think
we'll continue this conversation.
Your city manager said it doesn't address things like flora and fauna.
No, it does.
That's the purpose of the EIR. And with all due respect, Jim, I don't think your opinion is any more valid than mine. I think that would be Mrs. Mall's position to inform the council what
Okay.
the difference is in an EIR.
Okay, that's
Thank
enough.
you.
Thank you.
Didn't we spend
I think we heard
$70,000
from
on an EIR?
the city attorney on that subject already
Yeah,
tonight.
and I think that John's taken it out of context. The fauna and the flora is really an overglass of the thing. However, each of these subdivisions that you're looking at have done a biological study, and they have looked at that, and that's part of the mitigation.
Thank you, Roger. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think this makes very clear that we have an opportunity to get better information out to the public about how these processes work. And I'll use the Christopher Ranch as an example. That process happened just as Jim and I were being elected to the council, and I watched some of it prior to being elected, and then living through sort of the tail end of that approval up here, and it was discouraging to me to see people coming in, addressing the council at such an early stage. They were hearing this rumor process out in the community, or hearing information. I shouldn't say rumor, because it wasn't rumor. It was factual information about a pending project. But the process doesn't allow the council at that point, or at those early stages when we're simply talking about annexation, to address questions and concerns about a project that hasn't been presented. And so there's a great deal of information, education, I think, that we could, we just there's no mechanism for it currently to help the public understand what the process is, so that they will understand what we're doing, why we're doing it in the sequence we're doing. You know, CEQA and the EIR and the mitigated negative declaration. Who knows what a mitigated negative declaration is? I had no idea what it was until I got
here.
Until I
living with it for 35 years.
Right. So there's a tremendous opportunity, and I think that's part of what people are referring to as transparency. It's not that we're not being transparent, and maybe we're not in certain instances, but there's certainly an opportunity to make the public feel better, understand the process better, so that they're better satisfied with the product that's coming out of this chamber. And we need to work on this. I know we're meeting the letter of the law, the requirements for posting. It's 3 days ahead and all that stuff. I don't think it's adequate. I think we need to make an effort, and we need to, if we need to do a series of articles in the newspaper, or whatever we need to do to get this information out there so people understand the process. My personal experience is that most people are satisfied when I'm able to talk to them one-on-one and talk through the process. And that's right now they're relying on Facebook, and there's a lot of really questionable information out there.
Yeah. And I would agree with all of that. In fact, when I'm on the other side as an applicant, we meet in the community at community meetings long before we ever go to the city or the county. And we try to explain to them the process and what we're doing, because otherwise it looks like a bunch of made up rules, and you come to the public hearing and it's, you can't say that because of this, you can't do that because of this, and it looks like the game is rigged against you, and it's not. It's rigged. I mean, the state of California has made all kind of laws and all kind of conditions to open the process up, but it is a complex process, and there's probably 4 people in this room that fully understand it.
Yeah. I think you touched on something that's key here. Many of these requirements are not in the city code.
No.
They're state laws.
Right.
And we are mandated to do it in a certain way, and our hands are tied in many instances. Now, that's not to say, John, that I disagree with you, because I think that there's definitely opportunities for improvement from my perspective. But, sitting here tonight, looking at a project that's been approved for years. This project was approved before I came on the council, I think.
2012.
Yeah, and to then start talking about, requiring them to do an EIR, that's simply not reasonable, and I can't support that. But if we want to look at, if the Planning Commission and I think that's the right place for this to start, wants to go out and figure out, make changes to the process, I'm all for it. I told you, I asked you when we met on a completely unrelated subject if you wanted to be on the planning commission again. And I can appreciate why you wouldn't. But I will tell you, if you are interested, I will appoint you.
Yeah.
I will appoint you. So anyway, that's all I have to say.
But the state has already built it. This is called a scoping concept.
Yeah.
When a project first comes online, everybody unofficially gets together and say, what do we need to look at? And so they do the whole scope of the mitigated negative deck or the EIR. I mean, it's all there. You just can't put a gun to somebody's head and say, come to the planning commission before you get mad.
Well, and I feel like I'm in a much better position now after 2 years to anticipate things that I never would have considered. You know, and unfortunately, that is one of the problems when you're dealing with a small town like this. We're just, you know, I don't have a background in this. I don't think, you know, Jim, you're the only one with a...
Yeah.
Well, and Tony has some construction background.
And doing that is a full-time job. That's what I've done for 30 years.
Yeah.
That's a full-time job.
And the whole CEQA guidelines is that even before the applicant has to come and submit to you an initial study, and it's a checklist that goes in detail everything. We check it out to see if it does have impacts or it doesn't, and then that makes your decision of how many reports you need there. And everybody glosses over and says, oh, you just made a negative declaration. A lot of forethought goes into it before that decision is made.
Well, I think, like I said, I think there's process opportunities, and the negative deck process and how those are completed, I think we can put requirements on that that would make the public feel better about the process too. You know, it's, you know,
I mean,
who are we getting to do
it? It does work if you go door to door and have coffee with people. But that's a full-time job.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, we've gotten way off track.
Okay,
My apologies.
We have...
I don't have anything to add on this particular project.
Okay, we have a resolution. We've closed the public hearing. It's back to the council. So I need a motion.
I'd like to address one thing, though.
Okay.
The impact fees.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We revised our impact fees more than once since Roger's been here in the last 6 years. You can't just arbitrarily charge $100,000 because we're going to have to take care of that road for the next 50 years. You cannot do that. The impact fees have to be justified. All right, that's what we have done. And Roger just gave us this.
Well, we've done more than that. We put a condition in this project that they're going to have to take care of their streets,
that's correct,
their landscaping, their sidewalks, all of that infrastructure that relates to their project, and that's forever. That's not a one-time thing.
And lighting and landscaping. Yes.
Yeah, you couldn't do that 30 years ago. You could not. There was no such thing as a mellow rouge.
Yeah, right.
I remember the first time I ran into it, and you know, people are saying, "Well, wait a minute, this is on top of my property taxes?"
Yeah.
You know.
And Melrose means that the people who live in that community pay for that community.
You pay for the streetlights.
So John is also correct. They'll use 3rd Street, and so we have to get an impact fee for that.
Yeah. Well, we have, if you want to call it, a traffic impact fee. All right. And Roger just gave us a list since November of 2013 through May of 2016, we have collected $435,968 in impact fees. And those are all spread out over water connection, sewer connection, traffic, whatever. So,
well, we'll read them all.
Well, just the other thing you have to...
The point is that you can't just arbitrarily say, hey...
And in the old days, and I'm talking 20 years ago, you could say, if you want to build that subdivision, I want you to put 4 or 5 streetlights down here. I want you to build a school. I want you to build a fire station.
You can't do that.
The law says you can't do that.
There has to be a connection.
Yeah. Well, they made the connection smaller and smaller. So John is absolutely correct. You could say, I want a firehouse and I want you to staff it. Because
think in
we
the
could deal whatever we
terminology-
wanted.
In the terminology, they say there has to be a nexus.
Yeah.
There has to be proportional relationship to the benefit of that thing, and that's where you have to make that nexus study. And that's what Deborah said is we wanted to raise the fees, and I brought it to you, and she says it has to be based on a fee analysis and nexus. And that's what we're doing now.
Okay.
Okay.
So, I hate to keep saying the same thing over and over, but we have a resolution to pass.
Yeah.
Somebody make a motion.
Roger, make a.
And a second.
Make a.
It would be 51.
Yes.
51. So, propose a resolution of the City Council of the City of San Juan Bautista approving final map of Hillside Vistas, tract number 334, Phase 1, with supporting documents and fees in accordance with the San Juan Bautista Municipal Chapters 10.2 and 11.5.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded. Roll call.
The second was
Jim.
No, doesn't matter.
Sorry, he beat you. You
Give
get
it
the
to
next
Jim in
one.
case
Yeah, I
there's
was
any
so excited not having to read it, you know?
Councilmember West.
Yes.
Councilmember Bob.
Yes.
Councilmember Lund.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Martirano.
Aye.
Mayor Edge.
Yes.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the maker, passage unanimous.
Okay, the next item, we have to set a date for the hearing on the Copperleaf Project appeal. And Roger, you said there was some timeframes that we have to meet there?
Yes. Our code says is that you have to have the hearing within 30 days of receiving the appeal.
Okay,
When
so
was that?
what's the outside date then? By what date?
The appeal was filed by Jolene Cozio on October the 5th.
So November 5th?
Mm-hmm.
November 4th?
We don't have a
So
meeting.
November the 3rd or 4th, I think we were
No,
talking
so it's going to be a special meeting. Okay, November 4th is a Friday.
3rd would be a Thursday.
3rd would be a
Yeah,
Thursday.
Yeah.
You can give your 10-day notices within that.
I think
Yeah.
I'm pretty much open. What's today? The 18th. I'm pretty much open between now and then, except next week. Well, I could even be gone.
Yeah.
The 3rd. I don't know. Okay. So
I'm on the
It can't
bubble.
be any sooner than, we have to notify it 10 days ahead. So
28th is the
whatever
best.
day we have there, we got to
29th.
back it up to get the public notice in the.
Yeah, that
Okay.
pretty much means between the 31st and the 3rd or 4th.
Yeah.
Even
Does
if
this
we do
need
it
to
to
go
a
in the
date certain?
newspaper?
No, not in the newspaper.
If we do it to a
Have it
date
on
certain, we
Halloween.
still have to do that?
Have it
Yeah.
on Halloween.
okay.
There's no planning meeting on the 1st.
Yeah.
So we could go November 1st.
You're not going to have a planning meeting.
So,
Let's do the first because I'm not.
If-
So that's 2
Third
weeks
and
from
fourth.
tonight.
if we say that there's not going to be a planning commission meeting because we don't have a quorum, then we could have it November 1st.
Okay.
And we won't have a
Sounds
planning.
good to me.
Nope, that's a
November-
Tuesday, November 1st.
Tuesday,
Yeah.
November
Is that
1st.
okay with everybody?
Is that agreeable?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so,
At 6 o'clock?
yeah.
Yep. That's us.
Jolene, is that, do
Done.
you have any issue with that? No?
I do have speaker cards. Jolene, would like to speak?
You don't like that date?
No.
I didn't really want to get into the subject because we're going to discuss it at the hearing, so.
Yeah, I know, and naturally I'll be up there too, but I just had a couple of little points that I want to make. The main one being, I am not filing this appeal against the city. I am filing this appeal.
Don't even worry about that, that's your right.
In support of the planning commission's decision.
Yeah, that's all right, no problem. We have the process, so, we'll go ahead and I think there's a second appeal, isn't
Yeah,
there?
I wanted to make the clarification that today we received an appeal from the developer, so this would be an appeal both of the
So the
automatic renewal of the map, if that was actually to occur, if that did occur, and then it would also be an appeal of the planning commission decision to deny.
So we'll do the two
Together.
at the same
Two
meeting?
together, yeah.
Okay. Would that be okay, Julie?
Yeah, it doesn't bother me how you
Okay.
do it. I'm still not clear on whether or not I needed to make this appeal at all, whether or not that automatic,
Well, you have, so we have to deal with it, so.
well,
All good.
not if the automatic approval didn't happen.
Let's
then-
not get into that because that's getting into legalities and we don't even know
Yeah.
where we're gonna be yet. So we'll just
Okay.
take it step by step.
Did the planning commission actually deny?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Can't
God,
really
it's.
get into it.
Absolutely.
If we try to get it through that Gordian knot, we'll never get out of here.
Let's move on, because we can't deal with it tonight anyway. All that's on the agenda is to
Yeah.
set the date.
Just set the hearing. Yeah.
That's it.
And that's
Okay.
November 1st,
Yeah.
6 o'clock.
6 PM, yeah.
I have to say that Eric presented a speaker card as well.
Oh.
And unfortunately, I will not be there on the 1st, but I will have a written statement regarding that whole situation, because I believe there are some legalities that may not have been followed properly. So I will give my findings and do a letter form. I'll be in probably, I don't know, New Mexico by then.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I had a speaker card too. I don't know if we got lost.
Did we?
You had C and then E.
I can't read the agenda very well.
Yeah, come on.
I'll be.
All right, John. But this is the last one, right?
Yeah, right. So, just really quickly, I just think it's important that we, relative to that whole discussion we had about transparency, we learn of what happened and what went wrong. I think that will save the council a lot of grief, save the planning commission a lot of grief, save city staff a lot of grief. It seems to me there's been an error here in the process. I think, unfortunately, it's a huge legal issue. And I just think it's important that in moving forward to November 1st, that all of you take this opportunity just to be transparent about this and what have you. I also just want to remind you, and I could be wrong, please correct me, that for some reason, the city attorney no longer attends planning commission meetings. During my tenure of 6 years on the planning commission, we were sued numerous times. Sometimes for very good reasons, sometimes for frivolous reasons, much like you may think I'm up here talking about tonight. But having said that,
I don't want to say it, but
yeah, well, thank you. Well, you got to call it like it is. But having said that, with all due respect intended, I think the decisions made at a planning level are important. I think that this brings light to that. Overlooking a serious issue like tentative map approval and what that means moving forward, and whether it's legally binding or not, are terribly important. I think whatever you pay Ms. Mall or one of her folks, it's well worth having them here just for that reason, to protect you, to protect the city, to protect the process, provide true transparency, and just make sure that we're all on the same page. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, the next item is consider resolution approving a quitclaim deed for Elite Developments and authorizing the mayor to sign.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
Roger, I
Yeah,
guess.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, in the development of the D'Ambrosio, there was an old sewer line that was built many years ago that conveyed the sanitary effluent to the sewer treatment plant. And in the Creek Bridge subdivision, it was rerouted around the new right-of-way, and a new 18-inch line was installed all the way down to the sewer treatment plant, and it's in the public right-of-way of 3rd Street. And the old line was abandoned, and it hasn't been used since the Creek Bridge subdivision in 2003. The line runs directly across a number of streets, and I have a little map in there that kind of shows you how it diagonally affects a thing. And we prepared a resolution that really states this, is that it's no longer in use, it should be vacated, and then we quitclaim it back to the developer of the subdivision that's going to create those 8 lots.
And I just want to make sure that you have the new resolution there.
Yes.
You actually have to go through this process called a summary vacation of the easement, which sounds a lot better than it is, but it just requires you to make special findings that, just like Roger said, that the easement's no longer in use. And
Do I need to read these, or does
this
the
one, right?
person
No.
making the motion
Yes,
have
that's
to
the
read
new
them?
one.
Yeah. You just need
You
to,
don't have to read the findings, you just have to adopt,
Just make sure that we
In
adopt.
particular, in fact, you can read the heading, because the heading
Yeah. Right,
is the
okay.
summary
It's
vacation.
specific, all right.
All right. So, public hearing. Does anybody have any comments on this? Do we have any speaker cards on this item besides John's?
Besides John? Okay, that
John.
was it. That was it?
That was it, okay. So we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the council. Any questions? Any comments?
No, sir.
Any motions?
And the number? 51?
51.
No, wait.
all right, make a resolution number 2016.
I don't think that was 50, yeah.
Yeah.
The other one we're
The
going
last
back to
hillside vista
Was 51.
was 51. This
This
is
is 52.
52.
Sorry.
Go for it.
Okay, make a resolution number 2016-52. A resolution of the City Council of the City of San Juan Bautista summarily vacating an abandoned sanitary sewer and water easement to Elite Development, Inc., and authorizing the mayor to execute the quitclaim deed for.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call.
Councilmember West?
Yes.
Councilmember Bach?
Yes.
Councilmember Lund?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Martirana?
Aye.
Mayor Ed?
Yes.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the leader passes unanimously.
Okay, approve amendment to the personnel policies dealing with cell phone use. Roger?
This one here, we've had a few problems with some of the employees at work using their cell phones excessively, and I asked Trish to develop some type of a policy that we could adopt and move it forward and make it part of our personnel rules so that we can at least control it somewhat. And this is the policy, Trish.
Yes, I found it online. I thought it was very friendly, not accusatory or strong on the penalty side or anything like that. It recognizes that cell phones by everybody are useful. Your personal cell phone for business purposes as well during the 8 or 10 hours you're at work every day. We just wanted
Every day?
7 days, 5 days, some 30 days. Sometimes the planner has to go out and take a photograph of a posting. He usually takes us, although we have our own camera. He has taken his own cell phone and pictures. It's easier to send them to himself. But there just has to be restriction on the amount of time they're on it for personal purposes and any interruptions to people, other people in the workplace.
I want to throw something out. Where I work, they used to provide cell phones, and so people would carry their personal in their work, and it was too costly. And so what they went to was a stipend plan, and there's 3 levels depending on how much you use your personal phone for business, and so then you get compensated. So I'm thinking if we're going to try and control the use of a personal cell phone, we should pay them something so that we then have that control, because they're getting compensated for using their personal phone for work, and so then we can tell them a little bit, about how and where and when.
In Public Works, we provide the Nextels, right?
Well, but only, having said that, only the Public Works supervisor uses one, and then there's the on-call phone that gets handed around. the other 2 or 3 employees choose to use their own. They don't want to carry 2 phones, and like you said, back and
That's
forth.
understandable.
And it's their option. We've offered it to them. We, at one time when I first came on board, we had like 6 or 8 cell phones available.
The problem that we have is the personal phone, they're always talking to their girlfriend or the wife.
No, they're not.
And I said, hey, wait a minute, you know, if you use our phone, that's for business only.
Yeah.
And that's why I try to encourage it.
And I don't think that our cell phones that we have now will text. We don't have that capability.
Yeah.
There's bad on that. But.
Yeah, my company's done the same thing. They give you like a Stephen $40 a month. My phone costs more than that because I wanted a,
Oh, yeah. No,
you
it
know,
doesn't
but
cover it.
that you could
Yeah.
get a phone for $40 a month and work it.
Well, I get $30 a check, so I get $60 a month, and
God,
that's
make that
our
even better.
maximum. But I get phone calls in the middle of the night, I get phone calls on the weekend,
You gotta go with
and I
this.
answer.
This is $20 a month.
That's got a crank on the side.
Public entities almost have to use stipends these days because the IRS will tax you if you provide an employee with a cell phone, then they have to put that on their taxes. So it's better to put a stipend there and have them share the use of their own personal phones because they don't want to carry 2. And then there's also the issue of privacy because if they carry the city's phone, then, you know, everything on there is subject to a Public Records Act check, and we don't really want, you know, we don't want to have to divulge people's personal emails as part of public records.
So, well, I'm just kind of confused. They're on their personal phone during hours, okay? And now we want to pay them? No, I'm just kidding, you know.
And it gets to the point where I've observed it interferes with the work process because they're sitting there and talking to their wife or go there, and they're not getting anything done. You know, I hate to be a slave driver, but it annoys me.
So excessive use of the cell phone for personal has
And this policy brings it to their attention that we know that they're using it excessively, and we will have come down on it. And it's a reason for being written up and whatnot.
Yeah, I have a problem with what you just said, because if they're not aware of it already, we're not supervising. I mean, if they don't know this is a problem already, and it's here in front of us, there's a problem.
Joe tells them right on the job, and he said it right in front of me, just says, I don't want you guys to use your cell phones to talk to your wives. You're here to work. If it's for emergency only, that's
Somebody
fine.
else's wife.
They completely ignore it.
Well, okay, then they should be written up. I mean, that's how that process works.
You get the records, you know where they're calling.
That's why we want to get this, and so we can write them up.
You can write them up for anything if they...
Maybe if they're getting a few extra bucks, they'll think about using it only when it's necessary. I kind of have a problem with telling them how to use their phone and yet not paying them for it. You know?
Well, I think
we're not requiring that they use their smartphone for anything. Like I said, we have a camera, we have a landline, we have telephones, but they choose to use their personal phone.
Rick, there are a lot of retailers that you don't carry your phone. When you go out on the floor in a retail store, you don't carry your phone. It stays in the car, it stays in the office, it stays in the back. I mean, there's nothing unusual about that.
I've dealt with that in my business, and it was like, check the cell phone in, put it in the desk.
Out of my cold dead hand.
You know.
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of territory in here, and it seems like the works guys need phones. It's unreasonable to expect them not to have a cell phone on them in this day and age, unless we're going to provide some other means of communication, whether it be a stipend, a phone, a radio, whatever. But that, I think, is a very different question than a policy that's this is for disciplinary purposes.
Yeah.
So do we need that? It sounds like we do. I don't have a problem with it.
Let's open up the public hearing.
Just real quick, as of last Friday, having worked for a company with service technicians, we have the same type of issue that's come up with our technicians, and the approach we've always taken is, I won't say we always, because back in the day it was an 800 number, a pager, and a payphone, but
You remember pagers? Yes.
Or a carrier pigeon. It took longer, but the message got across. But in the last decade plus, we've always told them this is your work phone, and that work phone is to be on from the guys work 10-hour days, so that phone's to be on from 7 a.m. to 5:30. If you choose to carry it with you after that, fine. But these are your hours. If you've got your own personal phone, TS, you've got to carry 2 phones. If they choose to use their personal phone for work use, that's on them. As far as using their personal work phones for personal business, in the state of California, you warn them, you let them know what the rules are. You can even have them sign a paper saying, I understand I'm not supposed to be able to use my personal phone for anything with the exception of absolute emergencies. And if they're caught doing that otherwise, right up or 2 either gets the point across, or on top of planning commissioners, you've got openings for service people. But if this helps to back that up, that's fine. But I'm not really sure that paying them extra money. I know if I paid my guys extra money, maybe for the first couple of weeks, they're going to go, wow, that's great. And then they still think they're getting the $20 a month or $40, however much you decide. But by simply handing them a work phone or a city phone, if they've got to carry 2, I carry 2 phones almost all the time myself.
Yeah, but then you got the maintenance of it, the replacement of it. It's a lot cheaper just to do it. Stipends. You use your own phone. We'll pay you for it. We pay you the rock bottom thing that you can get a phone for, one like Tony's. And if you want a real phone, you got to pay yourself.
Yeah, the only downside of that is from a distance you can't tell whether they're talking on their personal phone for personal reasons or for work reasons. Yeah. Versus if you've got a work phone, you can buy those things in any color you want. Personally, I would put them in pink phones if it's a huge issue. That way you can really see them from a distance. But that way you know that when they're talking on a phone, they're talking that phone for work. And if you go through the records and find a whole bunch of phone numbers to non-work related numbers,
the 900 numbers, yeah.
Exactly. Then you can go down that route as well.
Clarification on TS?
Tough situation.
Okay.
Very good.
That was quick.
Thank you.
He's been there before.
Okay. Any other comment? Okay. Well,
is this the format that you have for all the policies? Is this what's going to...
All of those that are in the no tolerance do vary a little bit. They talk about the policy and then what will happen, penalties after it. So yeah, I can clean this up.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if we're passing it, we're passing it before us. This. So if it needs to be cleaned up, we should clean it up and.
Yeah, we have an ordinance.
Mostly just the numbering that would be cleaned up.
Okay. Well, I'd like to see it in a final version.
Yeah.
I think that's the idea. Is we have a policy. We have the policies stuff is all passed by resolution, and if this is it, this is it. If it's not.
Well, as it alludes to in the resolution, it would be Rule 2, Roman numerals 2, and Section 14.
Yeah.
That's how it would.
Yeah. We also have something there about not using them while you're driving.
Yes. That's the law, though.
It's in there.
Yeah, I know it's the law.
It says something about stationary. You can only, it kind of goes on the positive aspect.
Oh, okay.
You can only use it when the vehicle's stationary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So are we going to adopt this, or are we going to send it over?
We'll bring it back in the final version.
Yeah,
I would like to,
okay.
this is, I guess one of my pet peeves is not, I'd like to see final
Speculate a resolution.
version. Right. Yeah.
Okay. So
John's
everybody's
not
okay
here to
with
talk
that?
about transparency.
Yeah, we're fine.
Okay, let's move on to G, National Philanthropy Day, November 15th. Didn't we do no, that was a resolution.
This is just to clarify.
We have to reschedule the meeting to attend the ceremony where she's honored?
Yeah.
Unless you want me just to go.
Is that in Hollister or?
Yes.
San Juan Oaks?
No, San Juan Oaks.
San Juan Oaks. Okay, is that through the chamber or the community foundation?
San Diego County Community
Foundation?
Yes.
Okay.
So the regular meeting is November 15th, and so you would have to select another date for that. Could be the 16th or the 14th or the 18th.
I'm not getting what we're rescheduling.
We're
The
rescheduling
council
the
meeting
city
of the
council meeting
15th,
to,
the next, the
so
November.
that the person can attend the philanthropy day.
Got it.
Otherwise, one of the
You know what?
council members would have to be absent.
I'm going to miss the next council meeting anyway because we're going to a timeshare with friends that week. So you guys decide what day you want to do it.
So we're talking about rescheduling
From the 15th
the council
to the
meeting
16th.
from November 16th.
From the 15th
From
to
the
the
15th.
16th, if that works, or any other day. I just threw that out.
We can't do the 16th.
And
Cannot do that.
Councilor West said he cannot do the
Because I got to go in front of Dan DeVries and the Planning Commission for a whole new amendment to the quarry.
For a what?
Amendment for
Why didn't
the
you
quarry.
just do that tonight?
Good luck.
Because I ain't talking to Dan about it without four other guys there.
But even better yet.
How about the 17th?
17th is fine.
That's a Thursday?
Thursday. Believe me, Dan will talk about it.
Oh, man, I got a COG meeting that day, but it's at 3 o'clock. Well,
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
you're right.
Yeah.
City council.
Okay, that's done then?
You go to those?
6 o'clock.
Okay.
Is that right?
Discussion items, 7A.
Is the meeting going to be at 6?
Be 17th, right?
Yeah, it would be the
Oh.
regular time.
Actually, so that the Copperleaf appeal meeting, would that also be at 6 o'clock?
Yes.
Yeah.
6 p.m.? Okay, thank you.
Just to let you know that it takes 30 days for them to canvass the election, so the decision will not come until the December meeting.
Yeah.
Swearing in and
Okay. Okay, 7A, State Water Resources Control Board Compliance Order.
Yes, just to bring you up, I think everybody got a copy of the October 4th, the Water Division of Water, Jan Swikert, issued us a water connection moratorium until we get 4 actions in the directive. The first action is we have to construct a new well and bring it online. The second is to take that well and have it tested and submit a report to her that it has adequate potable water. The third is to do a source study and develop a report of how much water we have underneath our basin and the amount of source that would give us at least 10 years of dependable use according to the regulations. And then the fourth directive is then submitted to her for getting a amendment to our permit. Now, the second and third, we've taken and put into action step 1, which is acquiring the site and getting some cost projections for and developing the bids to go out to drill the well. The second and third is to submit the report to the state and do a source study that takes a little bit of sophistication according to Title 22 regulations. And so I've contacted a firm that specializes in water, and that's Kennedy Jensen Consultant Civil Engineers, and they have an office in Santa Clara as well as one in Walnut Creek. And they stopped by. I gave them a lot of data on the city today, and then they're going to come back with a proposal to do the second and third portion of that, and then that is to do the report to the State Water Division and as well as the source study. And then I'll bring that back to you as a contract for a consultant engineer. And then the last part is the fourth one would be Bracewell. I talked with him, and he can, once he gets all of that, he can submit the request to amend the permit for our well. Okay. Where the system is required is that we have well number 1 and well number 2, and they're both capable of meeting our daily production, more than adequate. But where they're concerned is that if any one went down, we would be in a pickle to meet the daily thing, particularly if well number 2 went down, well number 1 wouldn't have the capacity, because it only runs about 135 to 140 gallons a minute. So we need that third well for what we call redundancy reliability. And we knew that we had this problem, and we've been working with Mr. Karasaki to acquire the site, and we finally have a meeting of the minds, and we're developing that agreement, and shortly they will be acquiring the site. And then the next step is that I've got some rough costs from Majori Brothers of what a well was going to cost us, so we can appropriate the money and then go out to bid and then issue a contract to a well driller to drill it down. It's going to be a 24-inch casing. It's going to go down about between 500-600 feet. It's going to be sealed to about 300 feet, and it'll have a stainless steel screen, and the casing will be out of a polyvinyl. And no more steel, because it begins to rust, and it'll only last probably 20 or 30 years, where the polyvinyl will last a good 40 to 50 years.
So, by having the multiple wells, the duty cycle on the pumps are going to last a lot longer too.
Yeah. It will be a submersible pump, approximately 50 horsepower, and a variable speed on it. So there's a lot of, on the number 1 to get the thing, I've got to make the application to PG&E to get power to it, as well as I've drawn up the line where we bring from the well out and then connect to the 12-inch line that runs into the city, and then we do a bypass that goes over to the old 6-inch line that ultimately we can route it around so that well will feed down to the sewer, the water treatment plant, treat it, and then bring it back into the 12. So there's a little bit of valving and stuff like that. So.
Is that a 3-phase pump?
That's just going to be a 3-phase, yes.
Probably about 2,000 feet of wire.
Yeah. So that's kind of the highlight of what we're doing. We're ingressing there. I've let Jogi know on the elite development, as well as their the time frame and everything, and we accelerate this, and they seem to think that come along about February or March, we'll have the new well and the permits and the source and completed to Jan Schweiker's criteria, and have the ability to connect water back up. And that'll fit well with the construction scheduling.
Any reports on 3, the water condition?
We continue to run the tests and everything. The nitrates have dropped from an 86 high down to about 67 now, and so the more we use it, the better off we are.
So any of the construction sites, can they use that?
Yeah, and in fact, the applied water for the Rancho Vista, as well as the Elite, is that we issued them the water meters, and I told them to use the fire hydrant directly in front of well number 3. So they'll be drawing the water from there.
Perfect.
Have the approved, so we have a couple of projects that large subdivisions with approvals. Do they clearly understand that they will not be issued building permits until this is resolved?
Yeah. They can be issued a building permit, but they can't be issued a water connection. Okay. All right. Now, so now, if it was a private person like you and you were going to go get a loan, the bank is not going to lend it to you.
Sure.
But a developer, he can acquire the building permits and start the foundations and everything. And then that construction process by the time they get going, is a 3 to 4 month process.
Understood.
Right, so
But
they
do they
understand the
clearly
sequence.
understand
Yeah.
that they are not getting a connection
water
until this
connection.
is resolved?
That is correct, yes.
Okay,
Now-
there can't be any
There's no
coming back to
misunderstanding
us
there
saying,
and everything.
we have an approval, you have to get, no.
No.
They need to understand there is
Yeah.
not going to be a
In-
connection.
In the Rancho Vista, they have probably 3 to 4 months of grading and getting
Yeah, I
everything ready to
understand.
go. They're also going to start submitting the plans and getting their site design review and everything, and then they can get their models and stuff like that. So the
I
timing.
get all
wise-
that.
Mhm.
It's a very simple question.
Yeah.
Do
And
they
that's-
absolutely understand that they will not get a water connection until this is taken care of?
They fully understand that.
Okay.
Yeah. And they're going to help us accelerate the applications of those
Sure.
4 steps.
Sure.
So
I'm
it's
sure
gonna-
they will.
Yes, they will. It's gonna fix itself.
I bet they will. And I would suggest that Copperleaf, whoever the applicant for Copperleaf should be
right.
made fully aware of
Fully
this as
aware
well.
of that, yeah.
Because
And I've talked to Kathleen, and she
Great,
knows that
great.
about.
Thank
yeah,
you.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So have we've reached an agreement with the Kursakis?
Well, we've got an agreement and everything. I have to get him a water report of how many gallons he's going to be used and everything. We're going to give him an outlet with a meter for a 4-inch, and it might not be used. It'll only be used if his well runs into problems and he can't meet his demand, then he can there. So we're arriving at, this is what is going to be the cost of that water.
So it's going to be an emergency pre-connect for Karasaki.
Exactly. And it won't even be connected to a system. It's just
Understand.
going to be stubbed right to the boundary of our thing, capped and everything, with a valve and everything.
Okay.
And it's only for the ability is that when if he has trouble with his well and it goes down, then he could connect to that. And then I told him, I said, then we have to charge you a fee for it.
Well,
Using
and
the
it-
water.
And it should be clear that it's if his well, not if he has a technical problem with his well. I mean, it's for the well going dry, basically, right?
Yeah.
Not simply for if his pump goes out. He doesn't get a
Well,
He
he's
can
going to
free ride,
he's
right?
going to pay for the water.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, I mean, we're not giving him
No,
Doing
he's
both
gonna-
ends
Okay.
on that one.
Good enough.
Yeah. So that's, and I've got the calculations, and I just have to meet with them, and we go over it.
Good.
And then we'll sign an agreement, and,
Great.
and get
Good.
them to sign the deed.
and the deed. I've already submitted them the deed, and the grant of deed, yeah. Put it in the proper form, and if it comes back, then we'll have a resolution accepting the grant deed and authorizing the recordation.
Okay.
Okay, this is kind of off the wall, but being as it rained already, are we going to be able to use the recycled water?
Very short. Yeah.
I knew it was going to happen after it started raining.
Yeah.
I have a speaker card.
Oh.
Jolene Cosio?
For what?
Jolene Cosio, 181 Lang Street. I have to admit being completely lost on this one because I do much better when I have a picture or words in front of me. And on the discussion items, there wasn't anything in the book for me
Yeah.
to look at and understand. I don't know if you got a handout
No.
or if you're...
It's not in the
You're better
packet.
at
Well, no,
taking things in
we got
lot
a
easier than
copy of the letter from the state because it was addressed to all of us as well as Roger. And that lays out the
Directives.
yeah, the directives.
So,
And it states very clearly what we've just talked about.
yeah, just when I think I understand where all the wells are and how it's all working, I get lost again. So we have purchased one piece of property from Mr. Kurosaki, and that's
We are.
going to replace well 3 with well 4. Is that correct?
Yeah. We're going to
I'd like
drill
to-
another
I'd
well
like to-
4.
We're going to continue to use well number 2.
So well 4 hasn't, see, I thought well 4 had been drilled. Well 4 has not been drilled yet?
No, not yet.
Oh,
We drilled a test well to make sure that the water quality and the quantity was done.
You've held it up.
and so all this is about well 4
4.
right now. And the replacement for well 2, that location and well has not been.
Right now, it's subject to the Copper Leaf. The Copper Leaf subdivision was going to give us the site and pay half the cost. Now it's being appealed and it's denied, so then...
They were going to pay half the cost because there's nothing in the...
Absolutely, I negotiated that in the contract with them, you know, that they were going to do that.
Oh, okay, I didn't see it in the conditions.
No, it's not in the
paying half in
conditions.
the conditions.
Mhm.
So where is it negotiated?
It would be in the subdivision improvement agreement.
And that doesn't go before the planning commission? Because I
Comes to the city council.
Comes to the city council, okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And then the other thing was, I thought since you were going to be talking about water quality, you might be talking about the pellet softener and when the RFP was going to go out for that. And
That
or
is,
that a whole
that's
issue?
right behind the schedule. Our first priority is to get this well back on, and then we're going to go on the pellet plant. And these consultants, I gave them the preliminary plans of the pellet plant, and they're looking at that.
Okay, but an RFP will still have to go out for the pellet softener?
Are you going to
keep
Yeah. Not so much an RFP as the design is there already. Just bring it back, and then we go out to bid.
I was going to
Out
turn
to
mine
bid.
back into
Yeah,
Roger
not an
and let
RFP.
him store it. I don't
Okay.
think we'll need it.
Thank
I mean,
you.
if we
Yeah,
do
like,
like this.
this is the compliance order that he's talking about. Would you like to see it?
Mine's
Sure, I'd
even
love
bigger
to.
than yours.
Thank
you.
I don't know
Take a
why.
look.
Where is it?
Yeah,
Here it is.
I'm so much better when I read something.
Yeah.
I must have gotten Roger's. I don't know why that is so thick.
Well, he gave me this because he knew I could read through it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just
Anything
complaining
else?
about my
I just wanna
mitigated
post it.
negative deck. It's like that thick.
Uh-huh.
Do you want these back?
Yeah. Yeah, it would be nice, and then...
Airmail?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's
Some
go
of
to...
them, some of them were two-sided, and some of them were single-sided. and
That's why mine
the difference.
is-
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, construction
Give Tony the
inspection
two-sided one.
services.
Okay, the two subdivisions that we approved tonight are probably going to start doing some earthwork and construction very shortly. And what I wanted to do is have the ability to start looking for a construction inspector, somebody that's multiple facet to where he understands construction, he understands construction of underground as well as grading, and then as well as maintenance. Because part of the thing is, and I've stressed with Joe all along, is when they've never been allowed to go on a construction job, and then when the streets are paved, they says, well, where's the mains? And I feel that it's important to have a member of the Public Works out there looking at the lines, seeing where the valves are, how deep they are to the lines and stuff, and recording those and putting them on maps. And so this person, I think, will give us that avenue to where we can start indexing and mapping things for our maintenance crew.
Good idea, yeah.
What kind of pay scale is that?
I haven't decided what the range is and stuff like that. I'll kind of nose around and stuff like that. Probably
So it's
somewhere.
going to be like a dual hat, dual...
Yeah, yeah.
The proper process would be to bring forth a job description and salary range for council approval, as this isn't a budgeted item at this point.
No,
Just discussion.
we'd have to,
So we
I'd
change the budget.
have to amend the budget to incorporate that in there.
So you're talking about hire versus a contractor?
Yeah, hire him on, I would say probably on a permanent basis to where he would be doing a construction, and then if he is the right guy, I can get him into the building inspection and code enforcement, and then, you know, so that kind of
Combination.
combination.
Okay.
Water consultant services.
And this is the other one where after I got the October 4th letter from Jan Swikert, I started to look at consultants who only deal in water. And most of them were out of state and up in Chicago and Los Angeles. And I wanted somebody locally here. And so I found this Kennedy Jenkins firm, and they have an office in Santa Clara and in one in Walnut Creek. And that's all they do is water. And they're very knowledgeable. And the nice part about it, after talking with them today on the phone, is that they were asking me a lot of questions about our average income of the people and everything. And there are a lot of fundings available for people that are in stress that don't have wells that are contaminated, and they felt that we might qualify for some type of a grant. And they look at it. So.
Okay.
And some of those grants for the thing is up to $500,000. So, but we want to explore that, and that's what they're going to be looking at.
And so the consultant's going to help you with the paperwork for the well, the evaluation of the water source, and then applications and permitting and so forth for the wells and potentially for the pellet plant.
For the pellet plant,
all of it. Okay, great.
Okay, comments, city council.
Nothing from me tonight.
Nothing about your trip?
I had a great time.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Nice way to return, huh?
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
It could have been worse.
Yeah.
Well, I have to comment, I told Chris, I need to start taking a pill or
She
something
called me
before
and
these
she said that
meetings,
there's
because
some money available.
Before these meetings?
some of these guys out here really twist my crank. But
You can't let it get to you.
I know, you're not supposed to let it get to you, but the one comment I want to make, he left. A young man out there was asking me about law enforcement. He's pointing out to me that, he said across this, I don't know what he's talking about. There's a convicted felon, and then there was
Good enough to take it home.
supposedly a house of ill repute here in town, or what are we going to do about it? And I said, well, call the sheriff. I mean, and he says, well, that doesn't do any good. And I said, join the club. Hey, I did tell him we're going to have the private security, hopefully by, the first of this coming month, Roger? Yeah, and that at least they'll be out there. This guy's telling me, I can point out this drug house and I can point out that, apparently it doesn't. The sheriff needs
multiple calls.
Motivation or something. I don't know what it is, but a lot of stuff doesn't happen. So, anyhow, just so, and it kind of goes along with the fact that they haven't been here for several months.
Yeah, it's San Juan Batista's vacation.
I've seen a sheriff deputy, I think twice in the last, since I got back, so the last 2 weeks. That's the only time I've ever seen him. And I know I'm the one that's around town, so.
In our securities?
The contract over there, I've got to send it to Parsax and have them check it, for the insurance and everything. Should be ready to roll.
We have to approve that, don't we?
I have a resolution.
I thought we had,
You approved it and you left it for the
Staff
city manager to negotiate any of
I've
the.
negotiated everything and we're doing the
signature.
Oh, so we.
Send it to Deborah and then Parsax, and then I'll bring it to you,
in a completed form.
It's in a pretty good form. I mean, I actually drafted the contract.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
Our Parsac representative actually told us the limits for the insurance. So except for a couple of issues about when they're going to come and, what we're going to pay them for extra services, it should be in pretty final form.
So we don't really have to approve it. We've already basically approved it?
Yeah.
I had a resolution that was.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
Good.
I mean, if we did it, I didn't realize we did it that way, but that's fine.
One of the contentious items that they had was they wanted time and a half for 11 holidays while they were patrolling, and I said, wait a minute. So I've got it down to 3 holidays.
Oh, okay.
Christmas Eve, Thanksgiving Eve, and
Okay.
the rest of these, Easter Sunday,
Yeah.
Columbus Day,
No, I'm just kind of glad we made it through the night. There was a lot of valuable, information that was kind of going back and forth, and for it to hit all on one night, it was pretty enlightening, and it was pretty. I don't know. I just have a sigh of relief knowing that it's all done now.
Yeah. Jim?
I'm Tony's age. I'm going to take one of those pills too. This is a complex process. You cannot wait until the last minute and come in and bitch about it. Find out what's going on, and it's just, it's complex. It really is, and it looks like it's stacked against the average citizen because he can't follow it.
They don't want to do their homework. That's the bottom line.
Well, I think you just heard his campaign speech.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, before you move on to the
Adjournment?
to the attorney and the city manager and then the adjournment, can I just make a quick comment on this?
What is it?
It's about the transparency issue that part of what you've all been just now talking about is in regard to is the public coming up and being unhappy. This is information that really should have been in the binder. I see you all got it on October 6th. It's important for us in the public to see things like this. I just, was able to skim it real quickly, but I could have read it this afternoon when I was in.
Is that the one on the water connections?
All on the water, and it's
Yeah.
very important for people. It's our water
Yeah.
that you're talking about there.
Yeah.
We should know about that.
Yeah, we gotta find a way. You touched on it earlier. We've got to find a way to disseminate information, and I don't know what the easiest way to do it is, but
Well, at least it can be on the website.
Yeah, website is.
Yeah.
Post it on the homepage for a while, and then after things die down, whatever, and everybody's seen the grid, we move someplace else.
yeah.
I'm going to say that I'm going to, in the future, if there's not a document supporting the agenda items, I'm going to move to continue the item.
I would agree with
From
that.
here on out.
I would say if I
Continue the item if there's not some sort of documentation associated with it.
And I always said if I didn't have the information 7 days in advance, because sometimes I do have to, Grandpa does one thing.
But if it's just a report and the information is coming one way from the city manager to us, we don't need to see that in advance. You're talking about something where we need to make a decision, right?
No, I wanted, that discussion item was the control board compliance order. Jolene's absolutely right. There's absolutely no reason for this not to be in the packet. No, it's not in my
No,
packet.
it came to us separately when it
Not in
came
the
out.
binder.
It's not in the packet.
Oh, yeah, I knew I had it.
But just to clarify, you're saying anything that we need to make a decision on or something important needs to come to us in writing first so we can review it before the meeting.
I would like,
Is that
yeah,
it?
I want to understand, I don't want to walk into this meeting not knowing what every single agenda item is about.
Yeah,
Okay.
And that's what I'm asking for, and that's what I think.
And that means more time too, because, my mouth only goes so fast, and that's as fast as I can read,
Yeah. Ray Sanchez brought that written comment in, and then I guess he pretty much covered the whole thing in his presentation. But I don't like getting stuff at the last minute, because once we are here at the table, I can't sit and read something and digest it, and to have to, act on it. But, fortunately, he covered the material. But,
We're reading public comments on my computer at 5:30. In fact, I just went back to my computer on the break, and I see there's another one.
Well, I think the posting says that there's a time limit. It needs to be received by this time.
Yes,
on
that's
this
very
day.
true. That's very true.
And then maybe withhold them if they come in after.
The public hearing though is open right up until it's closed.
Yeah.
We're not at the meeting, so, technically, those are valid public comments. So a lot of city councils just say, well, if somebody gives us something lengthy, we're going to continue this to the next meeting because we can't read this right now. Or they'll take a break, 10 or 15 minute break, and read something and come back.
Okay.
My mouth doesn't go that fast.
Yeah.
Okay.
So moved.
Okay. City manager comments? None. City attorney comments? None. Move to adjourn.